What's up, everybody, and welcome to the count them, that's 8, I know, but fourth annual fantasy football draft for Inside the Hashes. My name is Avery Collins. I'm joined by none other than a close associate and friend of mine. His name is Sam Kirk, and he is out in Penn State where his Nittany Lions have just come off a season opening win against the Wisconsin Badgers. 16-10, correct?
Correct.
All right. How do you think you guys looked? How do you think your guys looked in the opening game?
I mean, the defense, a lot of energy. I feel like the team definitely rallied around that. They got a couple turnovers in the red zone. It was a fun game. And, it's just great to see football finally back in the Big Ten. Some defense being played and a huge crowd in Madison, Wisconsin. So I just can't wait to get drafting tonight. I mean, we have a night on our hands, and I'm ready for this football season. I mean, we already got college. Avery, we're just one step away now. We get one more. We get the pro games next week, and we're on our way.
That's it, guys. Can you believe it? The NFL football season is here. Thursday is the first game. We got Dallas against the Bucks. This is going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait for this to start. But before that, we got to get our players drafted. Thank you for everyone who is tuning in right now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all of the social media platforms for Inside the Hashes. We want to thank everybody who joined us 2 weeks ago as well for our selection show. So tonight we're actually going to be drafting our teams. It's going to be very interesting. I cannot wait to see the draft strategy for some of these folks that we have today. So we're not going to waste any more time, right? We're going to get right into this. There's no point in wasting any more time. We want to draft. So without further ado, we're going to bring up our first draftee or drafter, Mr. CEO, a.k.a. Jerome Jones, a.k.a. Please Don't Sing on the Air It Out podcast again, a.k.a. Jerome Jones. Our CEO is going to come up, and he has the first pick, number 1 overall. Now, we also want to thank our CEO because he is the one who is doing all of the editing and everything like that. So he's doing like 3-4 jobs right now, all in one. He's drafting, he's thinking, he's going over his draft board, he's editing, he's posting, he's doing every single thing. AKA, we got AKA Myles Garrett is what I was told. I'm gonna say AKA Rico Suave. He got the top going. You see him with the, the chain.
Nah, I had to do the thing today.
Looking good, man. Hey, red is your color. Red is your color.
I like
Listen, there's a reason why I picked this red color. There's a reason why. I don't know. I don't know if that's meaning anything, but it's a reason why. What's going on, Lewis? What's up, baby? You ready to draft?
Hey, come on now.
You ready to draft my boy? Let's go. I hope y'all all ready to go, man, because I'm super excited about this draft. Can't wait for you guys to see who we're going to be drafting tonight. I haven't been in an Inside the Hashes draft in, I think, 2 years now. So I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to take the crown from you folks over here, all your youngins. Sam, you did me wrong the first year. I had to get you back, So we're going to get this going. But I hope everybody enjoys this. I'm super excited about it, and let's go. Let's go. Football season is here.
All right. Well, Jerome, you are on the clock. We're gonna, like I said, we're not gonna waste any more time. We're gonna get the timer here, and we're gonna get you started. Let me see. Boom. Okay, got my clock here and my timer set to 5 minutes. Let's do it. You are up.
I'm on the clock, man. I had a couple of days to think about this, man. And there's the easy pick, and there's some picks that I was thinking about. I said this in the selection show. This pick might surprise some of y'all. It might surprise some of y'all. I mean, like,
well, now.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. No surprise. No surprise at all. Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I don't think in any league anywhere is Christian McCaffrey not going number 1, except for when you play with people that I play with and you have someone draft Patrick Mahomes number 1 overall. We're not going to talk about that, though. We're going to talk about this pick here. Obviously, there's question marks with his health, quote unquote. So what went into you deciding to go with Christian McCaffrey over, let's say, a running back who hasn't had any health concerns going into this year, like Alvin Kamara or Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook?
Definitely. Christian McCaffrey was my guy. He's good not only as a runner but as a pass catcher. I think if the Panthers would have kept Mike Davis, I would have been nervous, but they didn't. I do like Chubb or Herbert, and I think he is going to kind of spell Christian McCaffrey a little bit, but there's nobody that really threaten him. I think he's going to come off that injury. He haven't had any history of injuries that I really remember of. So, it bit a lot of people in the butt last year, getting him first overall. I'm gonna take that chance and grab him here. And yeah, man. So I'm excited to have him on my team. This is my first time ever having him. So a guy that I really, really like. So
okay. That's a solid game. It's a solid game. You really can't go wrong with Christian McCaffrey. 1,000 and 1,000. The guy has proven every year since he's gotten into the league that he's made for not just the NFL, but for NFL fantasy in general. Extremely high scorer. Any thoughts on this pick here, Sam? Or
I just had a draft the other day, and I had to go the same direction without a thought. I mean, at the end of the day here, I'm excited to see this Carolina Panther team. I am. I mean, you got Sam Darnold now under center, and I think the offense, they probably have a little bit momentum going into the season finally. And I think with multiple of their receivers and Darnold, DJ Moore, they will be able to figure it out. And I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be the beneficiary in the red zone. So I would have been pretty mad. I wouldn't have been mad at Jerome, but I would have been surprised if he went a different direction here. So,
I can't walk a little bit. I ain't want you to be like, it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. I can't just do that. I had to, throw you off a little bit, throw some,
I feel you.
I was going to put on a blue shirt. That's the reason why I put on the red. I had to throw you off, like I said. So,
it's like something Tom Brady would wear, like, in walking
I'm not mad. And speaking of Sam Darnold, and I may be giving away a little bit of my draft strategy here, but I predict Sam Darnold to have over 4,500 yards this year. I agree with you, Sam. I think the Panthers are going to be pretty threatening this year. I think they're still a couple pieces away from being, a team that is a perennial playoff team or anything like that. But I believe they have pieces to where they're going to be that team that you don't go into this game saying, "Hey, we're going to steamroll these guys." You don't look past the Panthers this year. I believe that as well. All right. So, Jerome, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a good one. I'll see y'all at the end of the second round.
Yes. And we're gonna keep your time rolling because we know that you are still moving some things around, but you can jump off the screen. We'll filibuster a little bit while we talk about the next guy who's going to be coming up. So the next guy who's going to be – so, again, first of all, Christian McCaffrey is off the board, ladies and gentlemen. So, yes, your draft board is messed up. Your draft board is automatically messed up. That guy is gone. There is no shakeup here, right? There's no shakeup here at the top of the order. So, with that being said, we're going to bring on our next contestant, and that person is Richie. Richie has the number 2 pick, and so – while Richie's getting ready and while Jerome is getting Richie ready, Sam, I want your prediction here, okay? Who do you think is going to be the number 2 overall pick here?
I think Richie's going to end up going with Dalvin Cook, and I think Dalvin Cook's the right selection here. Him coming back from that injury, like in such a way he did, that is something to take note of. That is something that is hard to do, and he looks like he is in his prime still. I think Minnesota is going to be a team that has to score a lot of points this year, and they're in a good division now. I think that's the number 2 pick. With the questions in New Orleans, I think Dalvin Cook is the right answer here at number 2. But Richie, what do you got to say?
Talk to us, Richie. Your time is starting now.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about a couple guys. I'm not gonna lie to you, it wasn't set in stone for me, but I'm gonna go with Dalvin Cook. I'm not picking Mahomes again in the first round. I'm going Dalvin Cook. Kamara scares me because of the Saints. Henry, doesn't catch as many passes, and in the way the points work in our league, catching passes is very important. And then other guys like Zeke, Chubb, I'm seeing like the rankings here, like Zeke, Chubb, Barkley. They're just they don't have the volume that Cook has, and they also they didn't show what Cook showed last year. So it was just like a safe pick, but at the same time, he's probably going to lead the way for me.
Okay, solid. It's a solid pick. Now, my question to you is, are you concerned with the emergence of Justin Jefferson? And we already know Adam Thielen is a threat at receiver. Do you think that they're going to throw the football more, and maybe that takes away from the carries for Dalvin Cook, or do you think it's going to kind of balance itself out?
I think it's balanced because I feel like the reason why Jefferson and Thielen are so successful is because when you have to worry about Cook, the outsides are open, but then when you have to worry about the outside, then the box isn't full. So like it kind of works hand in hand. He's still going to get his touches, and he's still going to get red zone touches. So, and he's a big play threat too. He's not a methodical running back.
I like it. Okay. All right, Sam. I mean, you predicted it, and you are correct. Dalvin Cook was the running back here. I mean, does it surprise you at all? Obviously, I know you gave your analysis as far as why you would pick Dalvin Cook, but if he went somewhere else, would that have surprised you more? Or just the no-brainer pick?
I think this was probably the no-brainer pick at this point. Number 2 is a hard spot, in my opinion. Like, it's a tough spot, and like Richie said, he probably had a couple guys in mind, but at the end of the day, you're getting a guy here. If he's playing 16 games this season, he's going to be an RB top 5, and there's no doubt about. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So, Richie, good pick, and I think that Vikings offense is going to move the football. So that's what you should be worrying about the most, and he's going to get his opportunities. So I don't think he could have went in any other direction really here.
Excellent. Okay, so let me just ask you, Richie. Obviously, you went with Dalvin Cook, and I mean it's a very solid pick, right? I don't think I think we're all in agreement here. He's probably the best second option after Christian McCaffrey, just based on what sheer volume, right? Number 1. Number 2, what he did last year, he was phenomenal. Outside of Dalvin Cook, I mean, was there anybody that kind of made you stay up, lose some sleep? Like, man, I don't know if I should really take Dalvin Cook or if I should take this guy.
The other guy was Kamara for me because I just like the idea that he catches so many passes, and with Mike Thomas out, he's arguably their best receiver. So if they use him as a running back and receiver, his workload is going to be incredible. So that was what my thought process. But I'm just afraid with Winston, you don't know what he's going to be. And when Kamara didn't have Breeze last year, he wasn't the same guy. And I'm afraid it's going to be a massive drop off in that reason.
Okay, I'm not mad at that analysis at all. I definitely understand it. Like you said, when Breeze did go out last year and Taysom Hill was in as the starting quarterback, the numbers did drop off. I think that has a little bit more to do with Taysom Hill being quarterback than just Drew Brees not being there. But I do understand the concern there as well. As well as, at the end of the day, there's a shared backfield. Latavius Murray does, in fact, come in and spell Alvin Kamara every now and again. And that is probably going to continue in the trend. And like you said, those question marks with Jameis Winston. Richie, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and let you jump on off, and we're going to continue on with the draft process. So I'm going to bring up the draft list here. He's still got about 40 seconds on his clock. We're just giving Jerome some time to continue to do what he does because he is doing, again, a ton of jobs right now. So we want to make sure that he is good enough to do that. Let me see who is next. I believe it is Darius. Darius Riddick who is next on the clock. And if that is the case, Darius, let us know when you are ready. It looks like he is ready. All right, cool. So we are going to start your time now. You are on the clock. Darius, you've got pick number 3. To me, this is the hardest pick in the draft. It is. Pick number 3 to me is I understand the pressure of number 1. I understand the uncertainty of number 2. But number 3 to me is the hardest pick in the entire draft. And that's the pick that you have. So talk to us. Let us know What direction are you thinking about going here?
I'm stressing, man. Richie took Dalvin Cook. I had him last year, and I was really hoping that he would fall to number 3. It kind of messed up my whole draft plan. Now I had to erase the board and start to scramble some things, but it's so many ways you can go. Obviously, we know the first 3 picks is usually running backs. You know, you got a guy who may take a quarterback in some leagues, especially with the number 1 overall pick. But, man, it's very difficult because when you look at the number 3, Derrick Henry, right? His main thing is he going to catch passes? We're in a PPR league, and you need that with running backs. Alvin Kamara, you guys just said it. No Drew Brees. Is he going to take that? Is he going to start to take that decline? Ezekiel Elliott, I think he's poised for a pretty good year, but you look at his first, 2 or 3 games, he's going up against top 10 defenses. So you really don't want to draft a guy like that. But, Nick Chubb, again, a guy, PPR league, Saquon, the injury. So, but for me, man, I think I'm going to be basic, and I'm going to just go with a safe pick. I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. The man's going to get his touches. The man's going to get his touches. If he's inside the 1-yard line, I know he's going to get in the end zone, and I hope this year he can really start to become a real through threat running back, right? Even if it's just short little dump offs and screen passes, if he catch it, that's a point. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm going with the safe pick. I really wanted Dalvin Cook, but I'll go with Derrick Henry.
Okay, I'm not mad at it at all. Miles Sanders and Mark Andrews for George Kittle and Adam Thielen. Should I do it? Let's get to this question here. Let's get to this question, and we'll get back to Darius. Miles Sanders and Mark Andrews for George Kittle and Adam Thielen. Should I do it? The question is, who are you receiving? Are you receiving George Kittle and Adam Thielen?
It seems like he's
receiving Miles Sanders and Mark Andrews.
I think he's getting George Kittle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's getting George Kittle and Adam Thielen.
Yeah, do that trade in a freaking heartbeat.
I would, if that's the case, I'm hitting the trigger. Yes. Give me George Kittle. Yes, give me George Kittle and Adam Thielen.
Yeah, come on over. Like, please.
Yeah.
Just hope Kirk Cousins can stay healthy enough.
Oh, yeah. Now, we're not going to talk too much about it because we don't want to give away draft strategy here. Some people may have draft strategy and we don't want to mess up their steez and everything. But with that trade, go ahead and give me that. Yeah, man. All right. So, any questions for Darius? Any thoughts about the pick of Derrick Henry?
No, I think, Darius, you made the right pick. I mean, it is really a tough spot. I'm kind of at a similar pick with you. I'm at 6. So, you're at 3, I'm at 6. I'm kind of like the second level of that, where you don't want to, go running back, but also, these receivers on the board. You're getting 20 points a week. It's tough. But, this is a theme early on in the draft so far. Good offense. Tennessee is going to move the ball this year. If anyone says differently, they're wrong. They're flat out wrong. Julio Jones and A.J. Brown will move the rock, and Derrick Henry will score the rock. So, third pick, I think you made the right choice.
I hope I did, man. I really hope I did. I want to see that weeks 1 through the whole season, man. I need that.
Be a fun team to watch, really. The Tennessee Titans this year will be a fun team to watch. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Then do that. If you're getting Kittle, do that trade.
Pull the trigger
and hope nobody hit accept and hope nobody vetoes it. Antonio, what is your strategy for quarterbacks? Are you guys more of a late QB draft or an early round QB? I will say this. It depends. That's all I'm going to say.
You can't give no draft strategy. You can't do that. Not here.
really depends. I don't want to give away too much draft strategy here, but it depends.
I'll say this. If you know who to pick that late and you could get him that late, do it.
Yeah.
But if you don't, take your risk at 5, 6.
Don't be like Darren and draft Lamar in the first round.
That's it. Darius, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Can't wait to see you for the rest of the draft. Pick number 3 is off the books, ladies and gentlemen. Derrick Henry is gone. You cannot get him any further, any more. So scratch him off your board. So for those of you who don't know, some of the guys in this draft aren't able to get on our stream tonight or be able to even draft themselves because of prior engagements, work, whatever, family, different things like that. So there are some auto picks on this, and I just want to give the update there. At pick number 4, the auto pick was Alvin Kamara. So Alvin Kamara is now off the board. Again, questions in New Orleans with Jameis Winston and all those different things. But Alvin Kamara is number 4. He's the number 4 running back off the board. And then another auto pick was let's see here. Wait, actually, before we even get there, how do you feel about that? I mean, obviously, that's where the system is saying, hey, Alvin Kamara over any other running back on the board. Is that how you kind of view it? Like, now that Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, and Dalvin Cook are gone, is Alvin Kamara the number 4 overall back to you?
I think he is. I mean, I think what Richie said earlier was kind of like overselling the whole hype about Alvin Kamara not having a great year without Drew Brees. Like, Avery, I think you agree with me, but Jameis Winston throws the football, and he's going to throw it all day long at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I'm telling you, he's going to throw it all day long, and he's going to be catching passes. So, like, I had the 6th pick. If he was there at my selection, I would have taken him like that. But, like, I think this is the number 4 selection easily, and the fact that 4 running backs went, I'm kind of happy with that because our draft is going, in a way that is kind of like that. So, good pick.
All right. Yeah, I can agree more. So, I think that he's the number 4 back as well. I mean, you could make a case for somebody like Zeke or Saquon but again, I think the question marks there with those guys are way more question marks than it is for Alvin Kamara. I think because, again, the question marks have nothing to do with Alvin Kamara, more so the team or the quarterback or whatever, as opposed to actually Alvin Kamara. So that's good. We just saw a comment. I took the player at 5 in the PPR league. The guy's a monster. Can't go wrong with him. Listen, Lewis, I really, really like that as well. Okay, there we go. Boom. He took Austin Eckler at number 5. And so Lewis is one of those who could not actually be on the stream, but he is commenting. So thank you, Lewis, for being in the comment section. Again, as you heard him state, he said he took Austin Eckler in another league. And again, he's going to follow suit. He's going to take Austin Eckler here. How do you feel about this pick?
I'm right on deck here. So I was looking at this man, and he was one of my candidates being picked. And, I think he's in for a great season. Avery, I don't know if you saw this, but he actually tweeted the other day, said, fantasy owners out there, fantasy football players out there, draft me. I will score a lot. I will catch passes. I will run you the football. So, Austin Eckler at 5. Okay, sure. Let's get going here. Like, this is a fun draft so far.
I'm not mad at that Austin Eckler pick, and I love his take. He's saying, like, draft me. Yeah, it reminds me of the old fantasy football commercials when they're like, that's why you want me on your fantasy football team. I love it. I love the confidence as well. And I love that. I love how he even got into his starting role in the Chargers organization. So that shout out to him. And he's right. He is going to catch the ball. He's going to run the football. He's going to do all those things with Justin Herbert throwing the ball. Antonio, what is our take on Mike Evans versus Chris Godwin for fantasy? Sam, I'll give you the first crack here.
Mike Evans did something the other day that was really, like, honorable to me. He took $9 million off his contract in order to keep that Tampa Bay Bucks roster alive. And for any of you out there, bet Tampa Bay on Thursday night. Zach Martin's out. They're going to have a nice night, and Tom Brady's going to do his thing. But I like Mike Evans. He is one of the most underrated players in football and does his thing year in, year out. And right now, this is his 6th straight year with over 1,000 yards. No other receiver has that. So if you want 1,000 yards, take Mike Evans. But Chris Godwin, also a phenomenal player, but he is the number 2 there. So I'd say let's roll with Mike Evans.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. Again, perennial 1,000-yard receiver. He's always at the top of the league as well when it comes to receiving touchdowns for receivers, right? He's probably one of, if not the biggest red zone threat receiver in the NFL. When he gets in the red zone, the fade is coming, and there's not too many quarters that can stop or do anything about it, right? So I agree. In addition to that, I'll say I love Chris Godwin. I'm not taking anything away from him, but his best year was with Jameis Winston, not Tom Brady. There was a significant drop-off in the numbers, not to say that is saying anything about him. It has more so to do with either chemistry or, what Tom Brady sees.
He's on a loaded roster
it is.
period. You know, he's on a loaded roster period. And Chris Godwin would probably be a wideout one in a lot of organizations across the league. So
Exactly. So
he's a pet stater of mine, so I got to back the guy up here.
Exactly. So not taking anything away from him. But anyway, now I have my host. My co-host is on the clock, so I'm going to go ahead and start the clock for him. You've got 5 minutes here. And again, you're at pick number, what's this, 6?
6.
That means 5 phenomenal running backs. 5 phenomenal running backs have been taken. What is your strategy here? What do you think?
To me, that's a sign. That's a sign to probably take a running back. And since Austin Eckler went 5, you know, like that changes a lot of things. And the guys I'm looking at 3 guys. I mean, Chubb, Barkley, and Elliott. Elliott is coming off the worst season of his career. 1, 2, he fumbled the football last year a ton, and his confidence was definitely down. But, you know, I see him coming back well. And whoever gets him on the roster, like, be glad you did because you're going to get him at a good value. But I ended up taking Nick Chubb, actually. So, you know, this isn't really a direction I typically would go to, but this guy is a monster, okay? Like, he's going to run the football. And the Browns, the reports, the things they say about Baker Mayfield make me think that, you know, they think they might be even better if they were to get like some other quarterback. So I think most of the success on that team is the offensive line and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I know the Kareem Hunt thing kind of hurt me during this pick, but Nick Chubb, you know, solid last year. He's going to be solid no matter what happens. And I think he's my most reliable pick here at 6.
I'm not mad at the pick. I think I agree with you as far as your analysis of Nick Chubb. Just a monster, a pure runner of the football. He's somebody who knows how to get downhill, but he's also knows how to run, you know, down the field and take the top off, all of those different things. Lewis, I would agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think he may be the best pure runner in the league. I would have to say it's between him, probably Josh Jacobs and Chris Carson for me, like as far as pure runners. But Nick Chubb is definitely at the top tier. I'm not mad at anybody who has him as number 1 as far as pure runner. Let's get to this question here, and then I'll get back to you, Sam. Should I trade Saquon for Nick Chubb and Devontae Smith in a PPR? I'm going to answer here, and I'm going to say absolutely. This is my opinion, and I love Saquon Barkley. But with the question marks, number 1, but number 2, you're getting Nick Chubb, who's a number 1 running back in a run-heavy offense. And you're getting Devontae Smith, who is probably going to end up being the number 1 receiver if he's not touted as the number 1 receiver already in an offense that is obviously going to look to throw the football. The reason being is Miles Sanders, as good of a running back he is, he's better catching the ball at the backfield and different things like that. They still don't have a power back. And different things like that. So my question is, or my opinion is, they're going to throw the football a little bit more. Devontae Smith in the preseason has proven I get separation, and in this league, separation is money. So I think that's a really good trade there. What do you think about that, son?
You know, that was my dilemma here. Like, you know, I'm a huge Giants fan. At the same time, Saquon Barkley is my guy. I mean, that's just the guy you want to root for. You know, he is a fighter and he's going to fight. And after this injury, like, it's hard for me to say that he's not going to come back. Like, he's too tough of a guy. He's too big of a character, and he's too great of a player to not come back from this. And players have before. So, you know, if there wasn't any other return like this in this trade, I wouldn't trade Saquon, but Nick Chubb and Devonta, yes, just hit yes, accept right away. PPR league too. Note that Nick Chubb doesn't catch a lot of passes. You have Barkley already who catches passes, but Devonta Smith probably equals that out, and Nick Chubb probably will get you more touchdowns.
Okay, I'm a Giants fan as well, but I feel like I can buy low on him in the middle of the year because I think he will start off slow. This is true. I mean, there's a possibility he starts off slow and then hits it, you know, running and is just constantly getting you 30, 40 points. There's a strong possibility. But do you want to go with potential or do you want to go with kind of the sure thing? and you know Devontae Smith is going to catch the football. You know Nick Chubb is going to run the football. Sam, you picked Nick Chubb again, and we got a couple seconds left here. So I just wanted to kind of ask you: are you concerned with him being, sharing the backfield with Kareem Hunt? Is that something that concerns you? Maybe taking some of the carries away from him and some of the catches?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, when I made that pick, that's just the only thing you think about, really, Avery. Like, it's the only thing you think about. If there's no Kareem Hunt in that team, he's a top 3-4 pick. Like, come on, like he is. Like, he's higher than Alvin Kamara. He's higher than Alvin Kamara. There's no way you can debate that. So, I was there. I'm just taking talent. I am. And if Kareem Hunt, who has gotten injured in the past, gets injured, it's going to be a Nick Chubb running fest, and Baker's going to have to rely on him in a lot of opportunities in the red zone. Okay, like he needs to. That's how they score points. That's how they get a lot of first downs. So, Nick Chubb is a consistent thing, I think.
Definitely understand that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Nick Chubb is off the board. We are getting down to it, ladies and gentlemen. The first round is almost over. We're past that halfway mark. So now we're going to bring up our next person, and that is my twin, Ray Roberts. Ray Roberts is on the clock. I'm going to start your time. You've got 5 minutes here. And obviously, again, some premier running backs are off the board, but we still have a ton of premier running backs available. So talk to us. What is your thought process here, and who do you think that who are you going to take?
I'm going to take Saquon Barkley just because of upside. I know he had the injury coming to last year, and I am a little leery of him starting out slow. But I think if we look at about this time last year, most people thought that Saquon Barkley was a top 2 or 3 pick in fantasy football. So I'm going to take the chance and hope that he comes back and has a great year.
All right. I can't agree more. In my opinion, if Saquon is not coming off this injury in any other year, he's number 1 or number 2, right? I think any other year, Saquon Barkley is like between him and Christian McCaffrey, you're arguing, and you really have a dilemma. Who do I take at number 1? I think that's how good Saquon is. So I definitely agree with the upside there. I mean, outside of the injury concerns, obviously there's some concerns with the offensive line, number 1. Number 2, they just brought in a slew of weapons for Daniel Jones with Kenny Galladay and all these different things, and Evan Ingram still there, Slayton. A lot of receivers out there. Do you think that is going to potentially hinder some of the catches and some of the touches that Saquon gets?
I, of course, have to worry about them like having better receivers, so they're probably going to throw the ball to the receivers a little bit more. But it also could open things up underneath for Barkley, with them better pass catchers. And the thing I like about them is they're like wide receivers that like to block too. So I think the Barkley's going to have a good year. I do. I think the Giants are going to feed him the ball and see how he holds up.
I agree. I'm going to pass it to the resident Giants fan here. How do you feel about this pick? Any thoughts on it?
Ray, this is my decision. I mean, like, I was right there, and, like, my bias just kind of got in the way, and I wasn't able to do it. One, because I know the coaching staff. I know how Joe Judge is in the New England way. I mean, he's going to be patient on him. And week 1, he's going to get 13 to 16 carries. And they're going to be really careful and really tricky. But if he ends up paying off by the end of the season, this offense is actually viable and they're moving the football, easily a top 3 running back in fantasy. He's going to be. So the fact that you got him at 7, congratulations.
I mean, also I thought about Aaron Jones. I did because I had him last year, and he's a very good football player. But honestly, before last year, Saquon Barkley never got hurt. Aaron Jones gets hurt every year. Misses anywhere between 3 and a half dozen games every year. So, Saquon Barkley is explosive. He can score anytime he touches the ball. So I'll take a chance.
I like it. I'm not mad at the pick at all. Like I said, I believe Saquon Barkley, when healthy, this is my personal opinion. When healthy, I believe Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the NFL. I think he's the most talented. I haven't some of the talent that I'm seeing from Saquon Barkley. I mean, I'm getting shades of prime Adrian Peterson, prime Barry Sanders in one. Like, he's really phenomenal to be 235 pounds, to run as fast as he does, to move the way that he does, to be as agile as he is. He's something special. I don't think that we've even seen the full potential. Hopefully this injury doesn't hinder that or anything like that. And I hope that he does, in fact, bounce back. Ray, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Again, Saquon Barkley is a phenomenal pick here. Can't go wrong. Good luck this season. We appreciate you. We're going to let you go. And
All right, man. Thank you, gentlemen.
For sure. We're going to keep it moving here. So he's got about a minute left. We're going to give Jerome some time. So we're going to filibuster here. I can't see here who's next. Okay, it's Chris. Chris is next. Chris is actually on the clock next as well. So whenever Chris is ready, we're going to bring him on. But so far, Sam, how do you feel about this draft? I mean, is it kind of playing out like you expected? Has there been anything that kind of raised your eyebrows?
About like 2 hours ago, I was saying I was taking Devontae Adams. And then, I came into here and I saw Nick Chubb there. I saw Barkley and Elliott. And I'm getting a running back. I mean, like 5 of them went right away. Barkley went right after me. That kind of hurt. It was tough to pass on him. And Avery, I'm sure you feel the same way with a couple Falcons and old Falcons like Mr. Jones. We'll see him later in the draft. But, it's tough passing on those guys. But I'm going with a guy who's going to play week 1. He's going to get 20 carries week 1 and has a chance of scoring 2 touchdowns week 1. So let's see what Chris does here.
It'll definitely be interesting to see, but I believe in extra time. But I believe, he's going to. I believe he's going to be old Saquon, man. I just gotta have hope that he doesn't get hurt. He doesn't show any signs of injuries. The biggest concern over his health, honestly,
the O-line.
That, but the phantom injury. Like we've seen guys who have injuries like that, they have the phantom injury where they're not pressing it as much as they should or as they could. So I'm hoping that that's not the case with Saquon. I don't believe it is. I believe he's one of those guys that's going to leave it all out there if he's going to be out there. And with that being said, I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. But yes, Chris, we're going to bring on Chris Thomas. Chris is on the clock. I'm going to start your time. Welcome, Chris, to the draft. Saquon Barkley is going. Nick Chubb is going. All of these guys are going. You're a huge Derrick Henry fan. You've been a Derrick Henry fan since DeMarco Murray was still on the team. So you've been adamant about being, drafting Derrick Henry. That's been your guy, and he's gone. So where do you go from here?
Well, the amount of running backs that have been taken is staggering. So I don't want to be caught with my pants down, scrapping for running backs who aren't going to get as many touches as a guy like Derrick Henry. Regardless, the guy gets 20 to 25 carry touches a game, and they can all be rushing and still get 2 touchdowns and 120 yards. Like Alvin Kamara, I'm not worried about Alvin Kamara at all, especially with Jameis Winston able to spread the ball out. You still got to deal with a few weeks without Michael Thomas, but I don't think Alvin Kamara isn't going to be, lacking in any department. The guy had 7 touchdowns in the game last year. I don't understand the skepticism. But for me, I made my pick, and I have decided to go with Aaron Jones, running back from the Green Bay Packers.
Solid pick. Not mad at it. Now, let me ask you, because Ray just brought this up. Ray just said every year he's going to miss anywhere between 3 to 6 games. He's perennially shown that he's going to miss some time, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that worries you here?
No, it really doesn't worry me. I mean, ultimately, it came down to either me getting Aaron Jones or Ezekiel Elliott. The difference maker for me is that as soon as I saw the Zach Martin news, I'm staying clear away from Ezekiel Elliott. The Packers had one of the best offensive lines in all of football. David Bakhtiari is coming back. Sure, he lost Corey Lindsey, but they changed their offensive line depth in the draft. So I'm pretty sure Aaron Jones is not only a good running back, going to get his touches, but he's also a threat in the backfield as well. So I'm not worried about Aaron Jones' production at all. And if it happens, injuries happen. I drafted Saquon number 2 overall last year, and he tore his ACL week 2.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, especially with that position, it's a grueling position at running back. Anybody can go down at any time. So, Sam, I mean, tell me, is Aaron Jones your selection here?
He's definitely in the mix for who I would have picked. I have to see the draft board, but I want to ask Chris about A.J. Dillon. He's a guy that's probably going to go later in this draft, but, he's a sleeper guy. He's huge. I mean, his legs are massive, and he's going to be getting some goal line carries out in the bitter cold in Green Bay. Like, they're going to give him some chances, especially with Jones, and they don't want to get him hurt when they're trying to make their last round with Aaron Rodgers. What do you think?
Yeah, that did cross my mind. I think A.J. Dillon is definitely going to be used inside the 20s more. Especially to try to preserve Aaron Jones, but everything that between, from the opponent's goal line all the way to the 20, it's still, real estate for Aaron Jones.
Yeah, that was my thought process with the same. Like, it was basically the same, the Chubb pick, like you got to be thinking about who's going to get the majority of the carries when they're starting out drives. Like, they're starting out drives with him. They're starting out drives with Aaron Jones. So, I think that's a great pick, and running backs are coming off the board, and you got yourself an RB1. So good pick, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
It's a solid pick. I'm not mad at the Aaron Jones pick. I agree with you, Sam. I had some questions with A.J. Dillon. I think he's one of those guys where if Aaron Jones either gets hurt or doesn't produce, the Packers okay with letting him go.
Oh, yeah.
I think A.J. Dillon is that good. I believe, in my opinion, he's that good that A.J. Dillon can actually be the number one running back, not just for this team, but for a couple others. So I'm really, really not mad at that at all. It's a very, very, very solid pick there. So final thoughts, Chris?
Oh, that being said, and also Green Bay has 48 million reasons why they should make sure Aaron Jones get his touches as well.
This is also true. Chris, thank you so much for your time. We're going to go ahead and move on. Good luck drafting the rest of the way. And I can't see your hat. You got to hold it close to the.
Hey, he's repping.
Oh, that's
inside that.
There we go. There it is.
Shout out to Jerome Close with the swag. Shout out.
There it is. Thank you, Chris. All right. So now let's see here. Who is next? That was
Yourself.
me. It'd be me. So I'm on the clock. I'm going to start my time here. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to let you guys know I am going to go with the question mark running back here. Probably the biggest question mark running back in this draft, honestly. That's a premier running back, I should say, outside of Saquon. And I'm going to go ahead and draft none other than the running back from the Dallas Cowboys. His name is Ezekiel Elliott. I'm going to go ahead and take the leap here. I think he's going to get back to his top 5 potential. We saw his first 4 years in the league. He was just completely tearing it up. Obviously, to your point, he had some fumbling issues last year. But if you've been watching Hard Knocks, he's been talking about how that's just unacceptable. He's come into camp a little bit slimmer as well. It looks like he's having fun again. Looks like last year he didn't have as much fun. It was a little bit more weighing on him. It looks like he's having fun again, and I'm hoping that is a good sign for things to come. So I'm going to take Ezekiel Elliott right here. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a good pick. I mean, I haven't really said that it was a bad pick yet, but Zeke, like you said, this is like the first time I've actually heard like some positive news about Zeke and like what's he saying and how he's doing with Jerry, and like this is some good things to hear if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan. But and also Dak Prescott, who is still, if they're gonna have to lean on Zeke, he's not 100%. I know he's not 100%, but he's gonna try to do his thing because he's got that much heart. But their offense is gonna have to go through Zeke and Avery. I think you really didn't have a choice here.
Yeah, I really didn't have it. I mean, I was honestly torn between him and Jonathan Taylor. Yeah. I believe Jonathan Taylor is obviously going to do well in Indy, especially with Carson Wentz being there. They're going to lean on the run game. They're going to be a very, very physical team. He showed last year toward the end of the year that he's going to be the bell cow running back. But because they still have Marlon Mack and they have Nyheim Hines, I'm not sure if with Frank being the head coach, there was a situation where, it's kind of like, hey, if you're not doing well, I have no problem benching you. That's my concern. And so that's why I went with the guy who's probably not going to get benched in Ezekiel Elliott there. So I was definitely torn. It took me a while to make that pick. I was kind of really wrestling there between the two guys, but I think I'm going to go with Ezekiel Elliott. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to stop my time. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next pick here. Just going to keep this draft going. And yeah, I mean, before I get to the next person again, I mean, everything is kind of flowing, kind of how I kind of expected. I mean, is this kind of how you looked or saw this draft going? I mean, nothing really surprises me this year, right? A round full of running backs so far.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, through the first round, I would say it's tough just because there's so many running backs taken, but at the same time, I could also see like a Devontae Adams slipping in there, like maybe instead of like an Aaron Jones. I think that might have been like the one questionable pick. Like, I think I like Aaron Jones. I really do. And I want him, like, he was great last year, but I just think that offense is meant for Aaron Rodgers, and that offense is going to go with or without Aaron Jones. They're just gunning for the Super Bowl this year. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I think Aaron Jones is definitely going to get a lot of touches. But again, my concern is the injuries. And again, he's not injury prone because he's not somebody who's constantly getting hurt in ways that keep him out for the year. But again, a game here, 2 games there, different things like that. When you're in a playoff push, you don't want that. You want somebody who's going to be consistent. And Zeke doesn't miss too much time. So taking Aaron Jones kind of took a little pressure off me. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, it's really between Ezekiel Elliott and Jonathan Taylor. So that was really my concern. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Let's see here. I'm not sure who the next pick is. Let me see. Let me bring this up. We're at this is pick 10, correct? Pick number 10. First round is almost over. All right, so Luca's on the clock. All right. Luca.
Yo.
What's up, man?
All right, so what I'm thinking here. So I just got done a draft, and after round like 3 or 4, the running backs get rough. So I just had to lock down a running back, and I just had to get Jonathan Taylor. I'm hyped for him. I'm excited to see him and Carson Wentz together. And I just need to lock down a nice, secure running back before that position gets shaky in the later rounds.
Solid. Like I said, I was concerned. It was between him and Jonathan Taylor. So for me, I think that's a very, 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 very solid pick, Luca. I mean, they've got a loaded backfield. Is that concerning to you?
No, I'm not really too worried about Nyheim Hines and Marlon Mack. I think Jonathan Taylor can hold down most of the work. I mean, I think Marlon Mack will catch a few passes, but nothing too crazy where I'm scared of Jonathan Taylor week to week.
All right. Well, I'm again. I really have not too much to say about it. I couldn't agree more with this pick, Jonathan Taylor. What about you, Sam?
I think he made a great pick here. One thing about this Colts team, Avery, you said it earlier, it's going to be Carson Wentz running the show. And last year, Carson Wentz could not throw the football to save his life. And one thing the Colts have in their offense that's a surefire thing is their offensive line. So if they're able to run the football, and Jonathan Taylor, he's one of those guys that they need to build an offense around. And I think that's how the Colts are going to get better this year. I think that's how Wentz is going to get his confidence back. And I think that's the pick here at number 10. So good pick.
Thanks.
Excellent pick. I'm not mad at it at all. Again, we've got a little bit of time left, so I'll ask you one more question, Luca.
All right.
Was there any other running back on the board that kind of maybe you wanted to go? Because there's a lot of running backs still with potential and on teams that still run the football. Was there anybody other than Jonathan Taylor that you thought to yourself, you know what? He might really break loose this year. Maybe I should take him over him.
I mean, Najee Harris is pretty exciting. Like, he's the exciting pick. Like, no one's ever seen him play in an actual game. So, like, he would have been the fun, exciting pick. But Antonio Gibson, too, I think he's going to ball out this year.
I'm a huge Antonio Gibson fan. I've been since
I think that football team is going to go crazy with
he was phenomenal. He was a phenomenal player at Memphis. And then we got to see him at the Senior Bowl. He was phenomenal in person. He's way bigger than I thought he was a defensive end. That's how big this dude is jacked.
Wow.
Like I was like, okay, yeah, and so and extremely athletic. So he's phenomenal. Great player. But I think you made the right pick in Jonathan Taylor. So we're gonna go ahead and move on. Thank you so much, Luca, for your time. Jonathan Taylor, ladies and gentlemen, is off the board. Luca, good luck drafting the rest of the way.
Thank you.
For sure. All right, so, we're getting down to the wire. Last two picks of the first round. Nothing to me has been surprising just yet. So let's see what happens here. We're going to go ahead and move on and get into the next pick. Who is next here? Matt. Matt is on the clock. Matt, you are up, and we can't wait to see what you decide to do. Matt, talk to me about what your thoughts are on this first round and where your head is now. You're at the bottom of the first round. Where's your head at right now? All the running backs you have.
Yeah, man, I think you hit the nail on the head. 10 running backs coming off right in front of me. It's one of those things where, do I continue to follow the suit or do I take an alternative route? And, sometimes it can be better to zig when everybody's zagging, you know what I mean? So I figure if everybody's going backs here, feels like the strength at this point when I'm on the clock isn't necessarily at the running back position, so why not go another direction and just see how things play out? So, I can't keep up with the Joneses at running back, so why not try to get a competitive advantage somewhere else? And for me, the best way to do that is take Travis Kelce, and he's going to be my pick here at pick 11. Some people may not like it taking a tight end this early, but he is the creme de la creme at the position, gives you an advantage at that position against everybody else. Even over guys like Kittle and Waller and the like, they're really good players, but not Travis Kelce. So for me, again, having 10 running backs coming off the board in front of you, it might be better served to go in another direction.
I'm not mad at it. A little bit of a shake-up. I understand the analysis there. Travis Kelce is perennially somebody who's going to give you fantasy points. He's always top-tier tight end. So it's very, very solid pick here. My question to you is, why tight end and not receiver?
Question, it really comes down to this particular league format. You have to start 2 receivers. You do have the 1 flex position. If we were in a league, hypothetically, we had to start 3 receivers and then a flex, I may have gone wide receiver here, maybe even double tapped wide receiver potentially. But having a league where we start 2 backs, 2 receivers, you do have that 1 flex that gives you the flexibility on your roster, but it's a smaller starting lineup. So I'm really trying to find where, after 10 running backs come off the board, where can I find an advantage against other teams? How can I find that? And for me, the best way was to go tight end here because draft pick comes into play, right? Draft my selection, pick at number 11 plays into that because no other receivers come off the board yet. So I'm sitting here thinking if I get Kelce here, I'd love to get a Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs on the way back. I know I can get at least one of them on round number 2. So, spoiler alert, I may have double tapped on Chiefs on my picks here, and it's not bad to get pieces of that offense.
All right. Well, no spoilers. No spoilers. We want the fans to be thoughtful and be like, hey, what's coming next? But anyway, all right, Sam, any questions? How do you feel about a tight end being taken here at the number 11 pick?
I'm just a little surprised he's the first non-running back taken off the board. Just because I think Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill at this point are supreme elite talents that you probably have to take over Travis Kelce if I'm being 100% honest. But Kelce, he's going to have a great year. He's going to catch passes, and he's a great high-powered offense. So you do not have to worry about tight end for 16 weeks of your year.
Okay. All right. Cool. I mean, so my last question to you, Matt, and then we'll let you go. We got a couple more seconds here. Do you have any concern that Travis Kelce starts to decline? He is getting older. George Kittle is a much younger tight end, as is Darren Waller, and both of those guys have burst onto the scene and shown that they are legitimate threats to taking the crown as far as being the number one tight end. Is that something that kind of you have some questions about?
Not yet. For me, the closest comparison from a career retrospective that Travis Kelce is following is Tony Gonzalez. And their career paths are very similar in many regards. Gonzalez played incredibly effective up to age 35. So Kelce this year will turn 32. I have no problem with Kelce this year. He's still a foundation piece in the highest scoring offense in the National Football League. So, if we're talking 2022, 2023, we're talking dynasty conversations. Yeah, I'm probably getting a little more concerned at that juncture. But entering this year, 2021, I still have no problem. I still believe he's in his prime, so I still like him here.
Very, very solid. Not mad at it at all. All right, so Matt, thank you so much for your time. We're going to go ahead and move on. Good luck drafting the rest of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, our first non-running back has been taken off the board. Travis Kelce, tight end 1 for Matt. He is going to, take the risk there and take a tight end in the first round. I'm not mad at it. Again, with all the running backs taken off the board, I can understand it. All right, so Darren is now on the clock. We are at the end of the first round, ladies and gentlemen. Pick number 12, Darren Braxton, a.k.a. Coach, is on the clock. I'm going to start your time. Coach, talk to us about your pick, man. I mean, how do you feel being at number 12, and what is your strategy right now?
Well, I had to think all right, all the really good guys are going to be taken already. You got to understand that, especially at 12. But the luxury in the way we're drafting, double picks. So if everyone's going for the usual picks, which is all the running backs, the most points you're really going to get from running backs and quarterbacks, I had to go and say, you know what? I'm going to need one. But I also had the luxury of going after another type of player, which everyone's going to go for next. But for number 12, Najee Harris, like I said, got to give me a running back. Got to get a guy that not only is going to get touches, but he's getting touches in the rushing and the passing game. We see what he did at Alabama. Absolute monster when he had his hand on the ball. And he does not need that many touches to even get that much exposure. And with Big Ben getting a little bit older, I'm cool with the dump downs for him. He's going to make a living off of that.
I understand it. I'm a huge Najee Harris fan. Obviously, I'm a Bama fan. I think he's going to be phenomenal. He's got great feet. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I believe he's the second coming of Derrick Henry. Obviously, he's not that big, but he's a power back. He's a guy who's bigger than the typical running back, quote unquote, and he's got feet that you would not expect somebody to have at that size. So I couldn't agree more. That's a phenomenal pick there. Stan, any thoughts on Najee Harris?
Getting him at 12 is just fun. I mean, he is an RB1. And I guarantee you he has over 1,000 yards this year, and he's going to be on an offense that's going to need to put up points. And, the Steelers, when they're at their best, they're running the football. Why do you think they drafted this guy? They're going to make him build the offense around him. They are going to do that. I guarantee it. Obviously, aren't committed to Juju. Ben is older. This is the guy. he will be getting 25 to 30 touches every football game the Steelers play this year. So, Darren, I would have taken the same player, no doubt.
And not gonna lie, I see him as a hybrid of Josh Jacobs and Le'Veon Bell. The ability to be a power back in that system, but not only that, he can get split out wide. We see what he did out of him. He has more receiving problems than Josh Jacobs did coming out. So
I couldn't agree more. I was just about to touch on the fact that he can actually catch the football as well. And I think that's probably the most underrated part of his game, right? We see the power. We know the stiff arm is there. We know he's got good feet and vision. But his ability to catch the football is extremely underrated. I think that he's a very sure-handed running back. I think he ends up being a top 5 running back in the league, if not by year 3, definitely by year 4. I think he's that good. I listen, Sam, I agree with you, man. I think it's going to happen sooner than later, but no later than year 4 will his name be a household name and be considered a top 5 running back in the NFL. So definitely a good pick. I mean, so James Conner's no longer there. Najee Harris is there. Is there any concern with how young the offensive line is for Pittsburgh right now? Is there any concern in that regard?
So it is a little concern going into, especially when you have 2 new tackles, got a new guy at right guard taking over for Dave DeCastro. I would have felt a little more comfortable with Dave being there, but the guy that they signed, Trey Turner, is also no slouch in himself. So I'm not too worried, but he's still, like I said, he's going to have to be that every down back for them, no matter what it is, whether it's passing, running. And think about it, he also can hit the home run. So if he get a little bit of daylight, you don't need that much reblocking to hit the hole.
Very, very, very true. Well, we appreciate your time on Pick 12. We'll talk to you later. Psych. Round 2, ladies and gentlemen. Darren has the back-to-back picks. This is the problem, or not the problem, the benefit of having the last pick in any round or the first pick in any round. You get those back-to-back coveted picks where you literally can dictate the movement of the next round. Oh, it's so great to have those picks. Okay, Darren, we're not even going to waste any more time. We're kicking off round 2, and you have the honor. You have the privilege. What are you doing here, guy?
This one was very easy for me. It was automatically, I knew this year, you know what? Guy right behind me, he did me a little dirty last year. So I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you for later if I can. But running back is taken now. Got to get your wide out. And who is the best wide out in the NFL today? Oh, that's easy. That's Davante Adams from the Green Bay Packers. Man, listen. 2 games missed, still had 18 receiving touchdowns. 18 people led the league. He averaged 100 yards a game last year when he played. Him and A-Rod is special right there. That connection is special and is going to continue this year, especially with both of these guys possibly not even playing on the Packers next season. You got to think this is going to be a tandem right here that I love, and that's going to score me a lot of points.
Not a bad pick. I don't agree that he's the best receiver in the NFL, but that is a very, very solid pick. He's definitely a fantasy star, fantasy stud, and he's got one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the National Football League, throwing him the football. So I like this pick, right? A lot of running backs off the board. You already got your number 1 running back. Again, you could have gone back-to-back running backs here, but you're like, you know what? I've got the back-to-back picks. I'm going to make sure I get a premier wide receiver here. I love this strategy. Sam, how do you feel? Davante Adams off the board.
Last year I saw a video of T.O. watching film on Davante Adams route running, and he was literally crying. He's saying, I mean, this is some of the most beautiful things you could ever watch. And it was Ocho. Good call. Yeah, but I mean, that was amazing just to see. But I think, that Scottie Pippen and Mo Jordan, man. I mean, Rodgers was posting that all over his Instagram with Davante. I mean, they are ready to make their last dance, and they're ready to make a run. I hit on it earlier. I mean, that's my NFC favorite. They got the most to play for. They do. So, great pick on your Najee Harris and Davante Adams turnaround there. I mean, That's a really cool duo to root for there for the season.
Very solid.
Devontae Adams is what, number 6 or number 7 on the top 100 this year, and the number 1 wideout might appear. So I don't know. I think I might be right on him being the number 1 right now.
I agree.
Solid pick here. Solid pick. I'm not mad at it at all. All right, Darren, thank you so much for your time. We're going to keep this draft moving. We're going to try to speed up the process just a little bit here, but Darren has now selected back-to-back Najee Harris and Devontae Adams. First receiver off the board. Devontae Adams is going. Darren, good luck drafting the rest of the way, sir. Right. So Matt is back on the clock again. This is the luxury of being at the bottom of those rounds, right? You kind of get those back-to-backs, and you can kind of, finesse and finagle a little bit better. So, Matt, we're going to bring you in here, and we're going to go right to it and say, who are you selecting?
Yeah, man, we may have given a little spoiler alert in the previous pick, but I'm going Tyreek Hill here, also from the Kansas City Chiefs. Double dipping there in Kansas City with Tyreek and Travis Kelce. For me, wide receiver this year, it's a trio at the very top. Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. I just love having weapons connected to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, this offense. It's going to be, again, as good as any in the NFL we've seen in recent memory. So we got guys who virtually, they're matchup nightmares. We got 2 of them in Kansas City. So, for me, being the end of the draft and seeing a huge run of running backs, it was an easy call for me to double tap for Kansas City.
My question for you here is, do you have any concern with taking the tight end and the receiver from the same team, right? Like, some people kind of err on the side of caution with doing that. Taking 2 guys who especially are, high volume guys. Do you feel like that is the correct draft strategy to have, or do you say, forget that draft strategy? I want guys that I know are going to get in the end zone.
Yeah, honestly, that you got to take that on a case by case basis, depending upon the team, what type of team they are, what type of passing volume they have. You take the other side of the spectrum, for example. You say Baltimore. Baltimore throws the ball around 450, 460 times a year. I wouldn't necessarily say you want to have Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown, but Kansas City, you're locked in 600 passing attempts a year from the best quarterback on planet Earth, and these 2 guys are settled. You know what I mean? Like, they are 1A and 1B. McCole Hardman, we like him. He's not these guys. You know what I mean? These are the 2 alpha and the omega of the offense. Yeah, so in this situation, no worries whatsoever.
I like it. Sam, your thoughts?
This is probably the pick I was expecting right after Adams to go. I mean, the fact that you got Kelce and Hill doesn't really scare me that much, being the fact that when those Chiefs are rolling, both of those guys are catching 8 or 9 passes, no matter what game it is. Those are both guys going to be targeted in every game for every reason. So, like you said, this specific case to go double down on one team in your first 2 rounds, fine decision if you're going Hill and Kelce. I mean, those are 2 guys that are going to just be, like Avery said, be in the end zone. They will be.
So, last question for you, Matt, and we'll move on. No more Sammy Watkins on this team, right? It's only McGill, Travis Kelce, and there's the question is who's putting that per receiver. Does that concern you in the sense of now teams will key in more so on Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, different things like that? Do you think that'll take away from the touches until, let's say, Mecole Hardman can kind of prove that they can be the number 3 or the number 2 receivers?
Not really, because not only do you have Hardman, but you also have Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield, is also a terrific pass catcher at the running back position. They really, if you listen to the offseason, they want to integrate more underneath passing. They want their rookie tight end, Noah Gray, out of Duke, to really be a part of this offense. So they're really going to spread the ball out a little bit more underneath, but So again, I think you guys hit the nail on the head though. Travis Kelce, his role is entrenched. Same for Tyreek Hill. These guys know what they're doing. They've been doing this for a number of years with Mahomes. I wouldn't be as confident in, say, McCole Hardman, saying I know exactly what his role is going to be, or other receivers, whether it be a Demarcus Robinson or somebody like that. But when it comes to Tyreek and Travis Kelce, you know what you're getting.
Got it. Well, thank you, Matt, so much for your time. Good luck drafting the rest of the day. Again, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill goes to Matt, two very, very premier players in the National Football League. Very, very solid. Very, very solid picks here. All right, so I believe the next player is Luca. Luca is on the clock. So we're going to bring Luca up, and we're going to talk to him. Remember Luca's first pick. He picked up Jonathan Taylor. We're swinging around here in the second round. Who are you thinking about drafting and why? Right here in round 2.
All right, so in the first round, a huge long run of running backs went. So if I were to take another running back, it'd be good to have 2 lockdown ones, but I'd be taking like the 15th best running back at this point. So I had to take a top wide receiver, and only 2 have gone so far, so I got to go with Diggs.
Excellent. Okay, Stephon Diggs off the board, wide receiver number 3. Wide receiver number 3, Stephon Diggs. I honestly think you can't go wrong with this. We saw what happened last year. He led the league in receiving. Josh Allen was almost like spoon feeding the football. It was really good to watch. So I love this pick here. He's a premier wide receiver in the NFL, has been for a number of years now. Sam, your thoughts on this pick?
I don't think there's that much to say. I mean, he's the 3rd wide receiver in my eyes. I think Avery, same with you. I mean, at this point, he is just the next guy compared to both Hill and Adams, and their offense is fire. I mean, Josh Allen is something to watch, and you could tell he loves throwing to Diggs. You can just tell just because of the jump he made last year. And I don't think you're going to have a problem with starting out Jonathan Taylor and Diggs. 2 guys are going to be vocal points of offenses right off the get-go.
Yeah, I think that was a great pick. But go ahead, Louis.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, I think I got like a really good foundation, like you said, how to start off a team.
Very, very solid foundation to start off your team. Any concern with the fact that there's no real, I don't want to say threat at the number 2 wide receiver position, but nobody that kind of like blows your mind away. You bring in Emmanuel Sanders, a vet receiver. Cole Beasley is still there, who works the slot, just as well as any slot receiver in the league. But there's nobody that really kind of you're like, man, this second receiver might change the game. Is that a concern for you that maybe Stephon sees a little bit more, bracket coverage?
I mean, I think he's just too good, and Josh Allen is just too good, and them together are just too good. So I think it's just I think it's fine. I think he's gonna get open. I feel like at least 1,000 yards, probably double-digit touchdowns, minimum.
Solid, very, very solid. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. Luca, thank you so much for your time. Stephon Diggs off the board. I mean, I think this is shaping up after that first receiver goes. You know kind of what's coming next. So I think Luca made the right pick there. He's got a very, very solid foundation to his team in Jonathan Taylor and Stephon Diggs. 2 premier guys in the league who are just consistent, right? They're steady and consistent. And so I love that about that. I am now on the clock, so I'm going to, I guess, follow the trend of what's happening right now, when I'm going to go ahead. Let me start my time here. I'm going to start my time. There we go. All right. I'm going to start my time, and I think I'm just going to follow the trend. A lot of wide receivers going off the board. I will make sure that I'm able to get one of those premier receivers. It's hard picking at 9. It's so tough, right? You don't get that swing around feel, and you obviously don't get an early draft pick. It's tough. So it's going to take some drafting acumen to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and follow the trend here though and take DeAndre Hopkins. I believe that Nuke is obviously wide receiver one in Arizona. I believe, he's going to do what he does every year. He's going to get you a ton of catches and a ton of yards. He's very sure-handed. He knows how to get in the end zone. He's one of those guys who makes spectacular catches. I mean, he probably has the highest spectacular catch rating in Madden this year. I'm pretty sure he does. Only other rival would be like Odell Beckham or somebody like I can't even think of anybody other than those two guys. I mean, their spectacular catch rating is just phenomenal. He's solid. He doesn't get hurt a lot. He plays with any quarterback. It doesn't matter who's throwing in the football. We saw that from his years in Houston. It doesn't matter who's throwing the football. He's going to get you 1,000 yards. He's going to get in the end zone. He's going to be consistent. So, any thoughts about this pick?
Avery, one point I wanted to make was that I think there could be an MVP on that roster. It's Kyler Murray. He's one of those guys that is kind of in that quarterback tweener spot of, breaking out. Like last year he broke out, but like this year I think might be like, okay, this is the guy who got drafted in the first round. That'll be draft. This is the guy who lit it up at Oklahoma, and this is the man of the Arizona Cardinals franchise. So, with DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, that is a phenomenal deal, and I would have done the same thing you did. So, no questions there.
All right, well, I'm going to stop my time. We're going to keep it moving, and we're going to move on to the next pick. Again, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Devontae Adams are all off the board. Now Chris Thomas is back on the clock. Chris is up, and we remember he selected Aaron Jones in the first round with his pick. Chris, round two, obviously we're seeing a lot of premier receivers going off the board. What's your thought? Are you going to follow the trend, or are you going to kind of shake it up and do your own thing?
I think this draft is interesting because once, obviously the first round, you see a bunch of running backs getting taken. I had to follow the trend because I didn't want to be lacking out of running back number one. I didn't want to be stuck with a guy in the later rounds, probably like a Deontay Swift or like a Josh Jacobs or James Robinson as running back number one. And, the way this trend has been going, wide receivers are getting taken. So I'm going to follow that trend, and I'm going to draft me a wide receiver.
All right. So let us know. Who are you picking?
And with that, and with that pick, it's against my better judgment considering week one is next Sunday, but Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley, solid pick. I think that's a really good pick here. He's going to be the number one wide receiver now that Julio Jones is now in Tennessee. Any concern with the fact that he hasn't been the number one wide receiver yet in this offense? It's always been a Julio Jones-led offense. Any concern with whether or not he can shoulder the load of being the number one wide receiver?
No, not really. I mean, we talked about this briefly on the Inside the Hashes Facebook group. When it comes to Calvin Ridley, I don't think he gets talked about enough. He should be revered and talked as much as people talk about DK Metcalf. When we talk about route running, he is exceptional, especially for how early he has been in the league. Really good hands, and even in games without Julio Jones, he still, comes out with 100-yard games, 7 receptions, and a touchdown. So I'm not worried about Calvin Ridley's production at all. I think he's ready to take that next step. And we saw him. He's in a tough division with a bunch of elite corners. You got Marshawn Lattimore. You got Tampa Bay's defense. And, Tampa and Carolina. Everybody's, saying that Carolina's a sleeper pick. And I have to agree, especially with the way that they've been drafting defense. And you got a fresh rookie in J.C. Horn that I feel like that Calvin Ridley's going to be able to take advantage of this year.
Very, very solid. I'm not mad at the Calvin Ridley pick. I honestly believe that he's in my top 3 as far as route runners in the NFL this year. I think he's going to be able to prove that as well. The film just doesn't lie. Every time I turn on the film with him and his route running, I'm reminded of guys like Chad Johnson, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen. He's got that type of acumen at the route running position, at the route running skill set. So I couldn't agree more. Sam, Calvin Ridley, again, he's going into his first season being the number one wide receiver. No more Julio Jones. Obviously, Matt Ryan is still there, throwing him the football and different things like that. With that being said, do those defenses that Chris kind of alluded to, does that kind of give you some concern with, Chris taking Calvin Ridley here? Like you said, you're dealing with J.C. Horn and the Panthers defense in general. You've got the Bucs defense, who I cannot remember his name. Jackson, I believe it is. Their corner there, plus
Carlton. Carlton.
Exactly. Yeah, and so plus Antoine Whitfield Jr. being on the playing safety, and he's phenomenal. I think he's one of the most underrated safeties in the NFL. And then you go over to and you got Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, is that concern? Is that concerning for you?
One thing you said was the opportunity that Calvin Ridley has in front of him, and I think that opportunity to be the number one receiver in Atlanta is a big thing for him, and it probably is a big thing mentally for him that he needs to go out there and show the Falcons franchise that, he can be that guy and that they don't need Julio to put up 25 to 26 points a game. This is an offense that's going to need to score a lot of points to win games. Avery, I'm sure you know that, and this is the guy that's going to score those points. So, I think this is a good test for Calvin Ridley. He's finally, put up against himself, that he is the guy in that offense, and it'll be great to see him featured a little more heavily.
Okay. All right. So, Chris, my last question for you, the fact that Julio Jones isn't there, and I hate to keep going back to this, but again, the fact that Julio Jones isn't there, he's going to see a lot more number one corner coverage and different things like that. In addition to that, because he's going to see those number one corner coverages, do you think that his touchdown numbers, maybe not his yards and catches, but his touchdown numbers maybe drop down?
Maybe, but it has nothing really to do with Calvin Ridley. It's more so the fact that I know it's preseason, so take as much as you want in preseason with a grain of salt, but Atlanta's offensive line really has me concerned. And Matt Ryan's getting a little older, so he not is going to be able to move around as he used to. I mean, he was never that truly mobile to begin with, but maybe that's probably the only way that I definitely see maybe the touchdown count go down. But other than that, I'm sold on Calvin Ridley. The route running, the hands, everything that and the biggest thing is that as much as I hate to say this, but never bet against a Bama receiver. And they've just been building wide receivers, over the last decade or so, and more so, it's just Atlanta. The culture, especially since Roddy White, everybody had those questions: is Julio ready to step up to be the number one? And Roddy White slowly beginning to bow his way out of Atlanta. The same thing's going to happen to Calvin Ridley, and he's going to shine.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, Chris. Again, good luck drafting the rest of the way. Good luck to you. So we're going to keep it moving. We're going to keep it moving and bring up our next person who is going to be drafting, and that is going to be none other than, again, my twin, Mr. Ray Roberts. Sam, I'm going to let you take this over. I'm going to go ahead and run to the lavatory.
You read my mind almost. All right, Ray, what are you thinking here? I mean, a really interesting draft. Had a lot of running backs off the board. You took the risk and got Barkley, which, I actually kind of loved, being the fact that he fell so far to 7, you just kind of had to take him. Like, what's been your strategy here, and what was your thought process going with this pick?
You know what? I was kind of debating on if I wanted to take as this pick was coming up, on if I wanted to maybe jump on a quarterback here. But I think that I'm just going to go with a wide receiver, because I see a bunch of wide receivers coming off the board. So I'm going to go and take DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's the sixth wide receiver. That's definitely right. I mean, this guy is a monster, and at the end of the day, Russell Wilson kind of has a lot to play for, and the Seattle team has a lot to play for. I mean, there's been a lot of years now where they have not done what a lot of people thought they would. And, I'm sure Pete Carroll is definitely on a loose string now where, they won't be scared to make a move if they need to. So, I like this pick here, and, I think he's going to do fine this year. He's going to score the football, and, I think this is the best wide receiver you probably could have taken here.
I agree with that part of it. Like I said, I saw a bunch of receivers come off the board like right in a row. I was like, you know what? If I don't get that guy there, then I'm probably getting like there are a couple guys, Jefferson, Keenan Allen, who I would probably have thought about taking, but I don't. I think if I wait till after this round, they'll probably be gone. So
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Metcalf's a good choice. He's obviously number one, and I mean, I still can't get over his build. And Ray, I don't know if you saw this play from last year. Buda Baker had an interception. I think DK Metcalf probably ran 80 yards just to chase him down right before the 10. I mean, this guy's a fighter, and I think you made the best pick you could here.
yeah, I agree. Thank you, man.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
All right, so that does it for Ray. And now I am actually after Ray, so let's go. Avery is back here with us.
We're going to let Sam go ahead and make his pick. Ray, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck drafting.
Thank you. You also.
Yes, sir. Sam is on the clock, and then after we get Sam's pick, we'll let him go ahead and hit the head as well, because I know he's been waiting to do so. And thank you for holding it down in my absence.
No
so again, he selected DK Metcalf. I was able to hear that. DK Metcalf, a very solid pick. Again, running wide receivers here. Sam, what are you thinking? Are you going to follow the trend or what? What's going on here?
I'm gonna go against the trend here and finally break it. Antonio Gibson's my pick here, and pick 7 in round 2. And
that's such a good pick.
You know, I think him and Chubb are great running backs to have. I mean, I couldn't really have thought that through already, but I like that team. I think they're going to fight really hard this year. They're going to compete. They have a, good roster with a lot of different talent on it. And I think they're finally going to get in the red zone a little bit. Fitzpatrick throwing the ball around a little bit more. So break your year for Antonio Gibson. Like, come on, bring it to me.
Listen, that's such a good pick. Antonio Gibson is that guy that I always try to get. I always try to wait until around 3 or 4 to kind of snag him because people kind of sleep on him. But he's a guy, like I said, I think he's going to be a top 10 back consistently for the remainder of his career as long as he stays healthy, potentially even top 5, especially with the way the league is trending with pass catching backs as well. I mean, a lot of people may not know this, but when he was at Memphis, he was a receiver and a running back. He played both. So we know he's sure-handed. He can catch the ball. He's athletic. He can run routes. He can do everything that you want. So I think Antonio Gibson is probably one of the most, if not the most athletic guys in the NFL. So it's a great pick here. Very, very solid pick. And again, it goes against the trend of wide receivers here. I'm not mad at it, though. Antonio Gibson, phenomenal pick. We're going to go ahead and move on. And we're going to go ahead and let Sam bow out and run to the head here so he can take his time. But again, Sam breaks the trend here and goes with Antonio Gibson after DK Metcalf. So now we've got another running back off the board. A lot of running backs, so many running backs. And the crazy part is there's a lot of running backs that are so good. It's tough for anyone to really go against the logic of, hey, load up on them, right? All right, well, we're going to keep it moving. We're going to bring up Lewis again. And Lewis is, again, not able to join us in the draft, but he was on the comment section. I'm not sure if he's still in the comment section, but if he is, shout out to Lewis. But with that being said, because Lewis is not able to join on the draft, he is selecting Joe Mixon. We're going to announce the pick for him. Joe Mixon, another running back. So the trend of wide receivers went. And then here's Lewis here with the second pick in the second round. He's taking advantage of the run on receivers, and he took Joe Mixon. Solid pick here, Lewis. I'm not mad at this pick at all. He said he's a good player on an ascending offense and should be lots of scoring opportunities for Mixon. Very, very true. My only concern is obviously the offensive line. I think Joe Burrow is a very, very good player. I think he's one of the best pure runners as well in the NFL. He can catch the football, very athletic, great vision, but just concerns with the offensive line. Joe Burrow being there and getting the weapons that they have should help. Maybe getting the ball out of his hands faster, and maybe because of all of those weapons, it opens up the box a little bit more for Joe Mixon. But again, still concerns with the offensive line. But again, he's solid. He's always going to score points. So good pick there. So next on the clock is, let me see. All right, I believe it's Keenan, and Keenan is the one who cannot join into the draft, unfortunately. So he has been placed on auto pick, and Keenan actually selected with that auto pick. It was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the next running back off the board after Joe Mixon. Very solid pick. Again, in an offense that is loaded with talent. He can run between the tackles. I think that's one of the underrated parts of his game because he is a 5'8" running back, but he's very solid. He's about 205 pounds. He's solid. He doesn't get hurt too much, but we know what he does best, and that's catch the football out the backfield. With Patrick Mahomes throwing the football, and he loves to fling it around and spread it around, why not pick up a guy who is in an offense, again, that is just designed to score points? Andy Reid loves to score points, and the Chiefs love to score points. So I'm not mad at it. We're going to go ahead and keep it moving. And next up on the clock is Darius. Darius is on the clock. Again, we've seen a slew of receivers go. We're back to a trend here of running backs, 3 running backs back to back to back. Is this something that is – have you been surprised yet? Any question marks, anything that threw you off the mark just yet in round 2 here, Sam?
Avery, I think out of all the 4 years we've done this little draft here, this is the best draft we have done so far. Players are going in the correct order. I feel like running backs went early. Receivers are going now. A quarterback trend will come later. I will guarantee you that. You will see a lot of action. And, it's a fun draft. Like, I'm excited about my team. I'm excited about the teams I'm looking at right now. And let's keep this rolling.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun draft. This is and I agree. I think this is probably the best draft. Darius is up and he's on the clock. We're in round 2, Darius, and we've seen a ton of receivers go off the board. We've seen a ton of running backs go off the board. Now we're again back to the running back trend. Where's your mind here? What are you thinking to do? And who are you thinking to draft?
I think, after the first round, when you get your guy that you really want, right? Like the first round, you see a lot of running backs early taken in the first half of that round. And then that's when you kind of, that second round, late first round, you start to go with the receivers. For me, man, it was difficult because I kind of had to find somebody who I really wanted, especially when guys started to fall. Like I wanted Devontae Adams. I wanted Tyreek Hill. Those were 2 guys I was really looking to hope to fall in the second round. It's very rare that they do, but if one of those guys fell to me, it would have been, I think that would have been a steal. But for me, man, I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. I think this is a guy with Julio. With Julio Jones being there, I think he's going to see a lot of double teams. I think A.J. Brown, can go underneath. He can get the deep ball, the 50-50 ball. And you got a quarterback in Ryan Tannehill who loves to throw the ball around, who loves to share the ball. So I think for me, that's going to be my wide receiver 1. Again, I wanted Tyreek Hill. I wanted Devontae Adams like I got last year, but some things don't work out. So
not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. A.J. Brown is definitely a solid pick. I mean, he's such a good receiver, and he understands the art of paying homage to the greats before you. He's the biggest Julio Jones fan. He wears number 11 because of Julio Jones. He's kind of got the build of a Julio Jones, big receiver who can run down the field, all those different things. And now he gets to play with one of his idols. And so I think that in and of itself is going to invigorate him, and being able to learn from one of the greatest, in my opinion, probably the greatest receiver of our generation. That's going to only bode well for him. So that's a very, very solid pick here. However, Julio Jones does come in. He's no Corey Davis. He's a legit number 1, solid Hall of Fame bound wide receiver. Do you have any concern that takes away from his touches?
I think Yes and no. I think the chemistry that AJ Brown and Ryan Tannehill have is legit. So I think, Ryan Tannehill is going to look at AJ Brown as kind of his like go-to guy, right? The guy he knows. Not saying Julio is not like that, but him and Julio still have to kind of build that chemistry. Tannehill and AJ Brown, he had that chemistry. He knows, on 3rd and 5, I can go right to AJ Brown. He's going to get open. He's going to give me the first down. So I think there's going to, as far as like the receptions and the targets, I think it's going to be split down the middle. AJ Brown may get a little bit more just because, again, that chemistry. Chemistry is a huge factor with a quarterback and wide receiver in the NFL. We saw it kind of with Odell and Baker, right? Like they didn't have that chemistry. But if those two guys can get chemistry, you're looking at probably arguably one of the best wide receiver quarterback duos in the NFL. So for me, it's really that's what plays the part in that too when I picked AJ Brown.
Not mad at that, and I love that analysis there. Sam, any questions?
I really love that analysis there, the last thing you said. And I think Odell Beckham and Baker might have actually a great year just because of that. I think both of them are really motivated to kind of get that connection better. But, Avery hit on a good point that A.J. Brown was really grateful that Julio Jones was coming into town. And he was, appreciative that someone like that's going to be in the wide receivers room with him and during his prime. I mean, this is the time for A.J. Brown to grow as a wide receiver, and there's no better time to add a guy like Julio Jones onto your roster. So, Tennessee Titans fans, you're going to have a fun year. And Darius, you took 2 of them, but I cannot blame you.
I'm going for the whole Titans offense, and I'm gonna just draft Mike Vrabel as the coach, man. I'm gonna substitute him. He's gonna be taking over for me.
I love Vrabel.
Not mad at it all. Not mad at it all. Darius, thank you so much. Good luck drafting. We're gonna go get this thing moving, keep this thing moving, I should say. AJ Brown, that's a solid pick. I think that's a really, really good pick there. So that's very good. Again, I think AJ Brown's gonna have a better year than people even truly realize. I think again, just being with his idol is gonna kind of invigorate him. But we're gonna go ahead and keep it moving, and we're gonna bring up our next drafter. That is Richie. Richie is back on the clock. Now we're just kind of flip-flopping here. There's no more trends. It's just we're drafting now. We're in the thick of it. Round 2, a ton of wide receivers come off the board. Some more running backs come off the board. It's getting to that time where it's like, hey, can you draft or not, right? And what is your draft strategy? So, Richie, talk to us. What is your draft strategy here at the end of round 2, knowing that right after this you pretty much pick again? Talk to me. What is your draft? What is your thought process when you see all those receivers go off the board and, you've got a premier running back already?
Yeah, well, my thought process, this draft class, I wanted to go running back heavy early, just for the fact that they're like someone said before, it drops off like after like 15. It's like 15, and then like after that, it's like a bunch of backups or like guys that are platooned. But I knew that I have a pick into I have the second pick, so I knew that it was a flip around, so I would have the pick after 2. So I decided to go receiver here because I'm hoping I can get the running back in the 3rd round. So I went Keenan Allen because Justin Herbert, he's like Mike Evans, just like, at least not the same play style, but consistently just puts up numbers. And I feel like it's a good, safe option. Justin Herbert is really good. A lot of people's sleeper MVP candidate, if he's even a sleeper. And if the Chargers offense is good, Keenan Allen's going to be good.
Well, I'm not mad at that at all. Keenan Allen is a very, very solid pick. I am one of those people who call him one of the, if not the most dangerous receiver in yards. Right? His route running within 20 yards of the red zone. His route running is simply that good. If you get in, put him in a small space, he's going to get open. A solid pick here. He's not an extremely big, deep threat guy. Does that concern you? I mean, they really tend to go to Mike Williams a little bit more when it comes to throwing the ball down the field. Does that concern you that he doesn't have that quote-unquote big play ability?
No, because especially in PPR, if he has like 15 catches, that's a good fantasy game if he has no yards. So it's when he has like those 12 to 15 catch games for like 150 yards, like that's better than having 4 catches for one like long 60-yard touchdown. So, no, not really, because he's just been such a staple, so consistent, and compared to the options, he was probably the best option in my opinion. Especially,
Okay.
I was him, and it was Jefferson as well was there, but I have Cook, and I'm one of those people don't love taking guys on the same team because if one guy scores, the other guy's not going to score. So unless it's like a quarterback, receiver, quarterback, running back.
Understand, Sam. Any thoughts on Keenan Allen?
I love Keenan Allen. I mean, he is a guy that, like, there's no really reason to hate Keenan Allen. You know, he is a guy that just stuck by that Los Angeles, San Diego organization. I mean, that takes a lot for a player of his talent to stick with a team that moves cities, and now they got a new quarterback. I mean, he was with a borderline Hall of Famer for the most of his career, and now he's with a young guy, and I think this might be one of his best years ever now if Justin Herbert actually makes that jump. So, Richie, I mean, Keenan Allen, I would have picked him. I mean, he is a guy I love.
Solid. Well, Richie, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. Good luck drafting the rest of the way. Keenan Allen, ladies and gentlemen, off the board. This is shaping up to be a very, very fun and interesting draft. I am definitely liking what I'm seeing so far. We're coming to the end of round 2, and let's just bring him up. It's the CEO, right? He's back. He's back on the clock, and he's got the back-to-backs here. So he's getting to do exactly what he wants to do and double up here. I think, again, he hates having the number 1 pick, but I think he loves having the back-to-backs as well. So with that being said, Jerome, you're on the clock. Talk to us, man. What we got going?
Listen, I hate this pick because I gotta really predict where everybody is going right now. Like, I gotta look at trends. I gotta look at how everything's going, because when you're always that far back, you gotta like make sure that you don't miss out on a certain position because the other positions get really thin. So with that being said, I had to double up on this position because looking at, normally I like to get my running backs early as possible, but looking at the running backs is kind of thin right now. And I thought like I might be able to get my next best running back at this point. And we're kind of ahead right now. I think I got my running back that I probably would have got in this position. So I think I did the choice, but I went receiver and receiver. I got 2 young receivers, and this is gonna see how it goes. I'm gonna go with my first. I'm gonna tell you guys my first guy, and that was last year's almost offensive rookie of the year, and maybe should have been Justin Jefferson. I mean, he was right. He was rookie of the year. Was it? Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Justin Jefferson. He's injured right now, I believe, but I believe with the run on receivers, there was another guy that I really wanted right here too, which was Allen Robinson. I was gonna get him. I'm still a little concerned about the quarterback position, especially with them announcing what's his name, Andy Dalton,
the Red Rifle.
Red Rifle being a quarterback. I'm a little concerned with that, even though he is still going to be a really good wide receiver. I love Allen Robinson. I almost have Allen Robinson almost every year, but I decided to go with the young guy. He great route running. He proved to me that he got great talent, and I think that he's going to be really good. And Adam Thielen's there too, so you can't straight up just double team him because Thielen's going to eat. If you double Thielen, Jefferson's going to eat. So it's really hard to double either one of these guys. So I think that with him, his second year, it's going to be even better. I think he was the best choice for me right here.
So, question for you. Obviously, Adam Thielen is there, but no longer having Stephon Diggs and things like that. My question to you is, with the emergence of Justin Jefferson, we saw how phenomenal he played. Do you think he becomes wide receiver 1? And if so, do you believe that he starts to see a lot more number 1 corners because of that? Because, and it's not to take away anything that he did last year, but it was primarily against the team's second or third corner. Now he's going to be seeing probably a lot more, number one coverage if he's in fact deemed that number one wide receiver. Do you think that potentially brings his targets, catches, number down?
I think it will, and he's probably not gonna have the same kind of year that he did last year. But I mean, this kid, like, if it wasn't for him being such a phenomenal route runner, I would have thought exactly what you're saying. But for me, if you're a great route runner and you have speed, I don't have a lot of issues with that. I think that he's still going to get open. I think he's still going to be good. And if push kind of shove, you could always put him in the slot. That's what he was doing at LSU. So I have no problem with him right here. He was the end of the second round. I probably would have got him in the third round if I was like in the middle of the third round. So I think I got my value right here with this pick, in my opinion.
Definitely good value there. Sam, anything on Justin Jefferson?
I love Justin Jefferson. I do think he's actually going to embrace that chance to be the number one guy in Minnesota. And I love Adam Thielen. I really do. But at the end of the day, he is aging, and Justin Jefferson is the future of the Minnesota Vikings, whether they like it or not. And if they don't like Kirk Cousins, the next quarterback that's going to be brought in is because of this guy right here who can do a lot. And he is a young guy with a lot of time to grow. And I think his potential is through the roof. So I think Jerome hit it nail on the head right here. I think he even could have been picked a little higher compared to the couple wideouts who are recently taken.
Yeah, that's a very, very solid pick. Well, we're going to go, and we're now jumping into round number 3, ladies and gentlemen. All right, now moving forward, we're going to get a little bit quicker with the picks and everything like that. I don't know why Jerome took himself off the screen because he's got the back-to-back. Come on back, Mr. CEO. We need you back up here. We need you back up here.
Somebody missed me for being out for almost 2 hours off screen. Somebody misses me.
So, all right, we're going to bring him back here. Jerome, you are starting off round number 3. You get to dictate how round number 3 goes. You already gave us the precursor. You said you went back-to-back at the wide receiver position. You still back-to-back young guys. So who is it? Who did you take here?
I'm kind of disgusted with this pick, and I'm so mad that I got the first overall pick because now I had to grab this guy. And I'm going off of potential. I'm going off of what I've seen. I'm going off of the offensive line. I'm going off the quarterback. And although I said that this team is going to get blown out on Thursday, I do think this kid is going to become the number one receiver, and I think he already looked at as the number one receiver. CeeDee Lamb, seeing what he's been doing. I haven't, and this is not even me watching Hard Knocks. I didn't even have a chance to see that show. So you guys tell me how you looked at Hard Knocks, but from what I've seen of practice and everything, this guy just been wowing people, and I think that he's the next superstar in this league. And I hate to say it because I'm an Eagles fan, and it actually makes me want to throw up. And if he gets touchdowns on my Eagles, it's going to be even worse because I don't know I'm not going to know how to feel. It's going to be weird. But it's a phenomenal talent, a guy that's, going to push down Amari Cooper. And I think that he's going to be the number one guy there. So, unfortunately, I got him. Like I said about the running backs, I could have got Mahomes here. I was thinking about Mahomes. But I have a philosophy about quarterbacks. So when I take my quarterback, I'll tell y'all a little bit about that if y'all want to. But I thought that getting wide receiver right here would have been the best because some guys started sliding down, and I just thought I needed to get him.
Not mad at it. CeeDee Lamb is definitely an emerging star in the NFL. I mean, obviously, the biggest question is there enough room? Do you think that? I mean, how do you make this pick knowing that he's going to be number 2 to Amari Cooper? Then you've got to think that they're going to run the football with Ezekiel Elliott. Let's not even forget Michael Gallup. He's a guy who can really do some amazing things on the football field. Is that concerning to you that maybe the volume just won't be there? I mean, he might end the year with a total of 10 touchdowns because of the fact that he's a dynamic player, but his touches might be low because of the fact that they may be spreading the ball. Is that something that concerns you?
No, and here's why. And it's funny because when you said Are you concerned? I thought you was gonna say, "Are you concerned?" Because he's a Cowboy. This is my point with this though. Gallup is in a contract year, so with that being said, they're not gonna re-sign him. Like that's pretty much a thing. They're not gonna re-sign him. They already got too much money tied in to everybody else. They got a young receiver who's on a rookie contract who they can sit there and allow to, develop and get better. They're going to want to put the ball in his hands. Like Gallup, yeah, he's a good third receiver for them guys, but he's not going to get a lot of target because this is going to be his last year. There's absolutely no way they're going to re-sign him unless he takes some kind of pay cut. I doubt that because I'm pretty sure he thinks that he's a starting wide receiver. So I think they're going to take the ball out of his hands a lot more and put it in CeeDee Lamb. I mean, in Cooper, he's a reliable underneath guy, but I just think that CeeDee Lamb is going to be their number one target. I'm not concerned with the running game that much because Ezekiel Elliott is not only just a running back, but he's a pass-catching running back. So I still think they're going to go pass first with this team. I don't think they're going to go run first with them. So, and plus they get, Dak back. They're going to be excited to have him. Like I said, I think it's going to be rough early for CeeDee Lamb, but I think in the long run it's going to work out.
All right. Well, Mr. Jerome, we'll let you get back to being behind the scenes. Thank you so much for all that you're doing behind the scenes. Good luck drafting the rest of the way. CeeDee Lamb is off the board. He is kicked off round number 3 with the wide receiver from Dallas, young wide receiver from Dallas with so much promise and so much talent. So we're going to keep it moving. Richie is now on the clock. And Richie, his last pick was Keenan Allen. Again, this is that swing around. Richie, well, it looks like we've got Richie's selection here. Richie ends up selecting Chris Carson, the running back for Seattle. Sam, talk to me about this pick. Is there anything that you feel about this pick that gives you concern or raises eyebrows?
No, not really. I think Chris Carson is a guy that kind of has been overlooked in the last couple of years. He's been quietly doing his job in Seattle, and I think that offense gets a lot of credit based on the hands of Russell Wilson and Lockett and all their receivers. But at the same time, Chris Carson's running the ball like 18, 19 times a game, like every game, and that offense really relies on him to do his job. So I think, that's the right pick there. And if you think Seattle is going to roll on offense this year, Chris Carson is going to have a nice year because it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it's a very, very solid pick. I mean, I'm not mad at it. My only question is the injuries, right? Chris Carson is one who does not shy away from contact. He's like, I'll run straight through a brick wall for my team. And if you're the brick wall in front of me, you're getting run through. So and I love that from a running back's perspective. I love a running back who's like that, who understands what being a running back truly is about. So I appreciate that. The only concern in fantasy, in the fantasy regard, is again health and longevity. So not a bad pick though. I'm okay with it there. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next pick and keep this round moving. And so after Richie, we've got Darius. Darius is on the clock, and Darius ended up selecting, let me see here, George Kittle, tight end from the San Francisco 49ers. This is the second tight end off the board. The first tight end went in the first round. We're only at we're at round number 3, and now the second tight end comes off the board. Is this what you were kind of expecting, or were you expecting because the first tight end went in the first round that maybe a tight end would have gotten taken in the second?
It was surprising to me, but then when you look at Darius's top 3, I mean, he's got Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, and Kittle now, and I think Kittle is arguably, there's no chance he's not outside the top 3 in tight ends speaking in the NFL, and we all know who those 3 guys are, but the thing is I have over him, I just can't decide between him and Waller. I mean, I love Darren Waller as well, and I know San Fran's going to be a better team than Vegas. They're going to probably, run the football a little more. They're going to burn the clock. They're going to play great defense. And Vegas is going to have to huck the ball all day long because their defense is not going to be able to keep up. So that's my one take there where I'm taking Waller over Kittle. But who doesn't love George Kittle? I mean,
Yeah, man. I think Darius has a very, very a team that when you look at it, you're like, these guys are just solid. These are just consistent. Nobody blows you away. They just kind of grind it out, right? Like Derrick Henry doesn't blow you away with numbers all the time. A.J. Brown doesn't blow you away with numbers. George Kittle doesn't blow you, but they're so consistent. They're just grinders. They're guys that you're like, man, I would love to build a team around these guys if I was.
Like imagine a team with these three on it, like that.
Oh my goodness! Oh yeah, for sure. Extremely tough, hard-nosed guys that just do the job right? George Kittle blocks. A.J. Brown catches and blocks. Derrick Henry runs the football north and south. He doesn't get taken down by the first guy a lot. Yeah, he's got a very, very solid squad now. We're going to go ahead and keep it moving. George Kittle's off the clock. That's the second tight end. Keenan is on the clock. Keenan, again, could not be with us. He auto-drafted, and he auto-drafted the guy we were just talking about, who is, in the question for who's the number 2 tight end, and that's Darren Waller. Darren Waller goes off the board to Keenan here. Darren Waller is a very, very solid pick. Again, between the two, I mean, George Kittle and Darren Waller, that's really it's tough. I mean, some even put him up there with the likes of a Travis Kelce because he's got potentially more receiving acumen than, let's say, a George Kittle. So, obviously he's a solid tight end who can catch the ball. Like, I mean, he's second to none in that regard. What do you think about Darren Waller being the third tight end? Would you expect him to go number 2 or even higher?
I think they probably went around the same time as they should, especially in this draft where, running backs and wide receivers just hounded for the first 2 rounds. And they're so neck and neck, Avery. It's just so hard to say. But from a fantasy perspective, I have to give the edge to Waller just because, Kittle is more of a complete player. I'll give him that. He can block. He's a football player. But Darren Waller is an athletic beast, and he's going to have a phenomenal year. And he's Oakland's number 1 wideout. I mean, anyone that says differently is just wrong, and he's their number 1 target on every passing play.
Could not agree more. I mean, for some people, you can't even name the number 1 wide receiver. Who's wide receiver 1 for Oakland right now?
Yeah, I know. Every year they say they got Ruggs now. They got Brian Edwards. I mean, these are guys that are fringe names. Darren Waller's their offense, and Josh Jacobs is their offense. So
that's it. All right, so we're gonna keep it moving. And next up is, I believe it's Luca. No, who is next? Give me 1 second.
Darius.
Let me see here. After Keenan is, let's see, right before you, Sam, drafted, trying to bring it up here. Lewis, there we go. All right, Lewis is next. Lewis is up, and Lewis, not sure, again, if he's still in the chat with us. Hopefully he is, but Lewis selected Terry McLaurin from the Washington football team. That's a solid pick here at receiver. I think he's one of the more underrated wide receivers. Again, I think one of the reasons he's underrated is because he has to improve against the top tier corners in the league a little bit more consistently. But I mean, route running speed, he can get down the field, makes great catches. Terry McLaurin here is a good pick. What are your thoughts?
I love Scary Terry. I mean, we talked about that Washington team earlier. I took Gibson. I mean, I'm in love with that pick. And I think, they have a good core now. It's a little scary. And I can't wait till they get an actual franchise quarterback to just kind of mold that team around Avery. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, at this point, Ryan Fitzpatrick's there to hurl the football down the field and give guys like that a chance. That's what he's there for. And I think McLaurin might have his best year ever just because of the fact they got a gambler under center. But then there's a side that he's going to throw picks and, they might have a couple off games. But I think Terry McLaurin is a great pick. And, he is a borderline wide receiver 1, I think, in any league. And by the end of the season, he might just be that. So great selection.
Yeah, definitely. I love Terry McLaurin again. Just got to see it more against the prime corners in the league. So we're going to keep it moving. You are on the clock, Sam. Sam, you are up round 3. We've seen tight ends go off the board, receivers go off the board, running backs going off the board. Where are you thinking? Are you going back to?
I want to ask you, do you know what I did with this pick?
I do know what you did with this pick.
How do you
and
feel about
it upset me because I was going to make that selection, but you did it prior to me being able to do so. I love what you did here. I'm just upset I didn't get the chance to do it. I love what you did here, and you selected the first quarterback in the draft, Patrick Mahomes, off the board. I love this pick here. You got Nick Chubb and Antonio Gibson, two premier running backs, and then you see the wide receivers going off the board. You don't have a wide receiver yet, but you're like, there's still some premier wide receivers on the board. There's still some guys that you can get in the later rounds. How can I shake this up? Because now you want to get somebody who's just premier at the position. You can't do it at the wide receiver position, and now you can't do it at the tight end position. So what position can I do that at? And you're saying quarterback. I love this pick here. I'm upset it wasn't me being able to make this pick. I love this pick here. This was phenomenal pick, Patrick Mahomes. What was your thinking behind it?
I'm just seeing 30 points right there. I mean, like every week he's capable of getting over that 30 hump. Like every week, no matter who he's playing against, he's a must start. And they throw the ball far down the field, and they love to make plays. And I think I couldn't even imagine his name at round 3 when I would first enter this draft. I'm sure you could say the same thing. When he was just sticking there, I'm like, no way. And then I get to round 3, and I don't have a choice here. I just need to get Gibson, Chubb, and Mahomes. I mean, that's a 3 right now that I absolutely love, and I know the wide receivers in this draft well enough to, try to make some good picks and fill guys that are gonna get catches.
Yeah, this was a phenomenal pick. And I know how your draft mindset is. You typically don't take quarterbacks too early. But, again, it's Patrick Mahomes. Like you said, that's a walking 30 points right there. Phenomenal pick. I mean, I know the year that you won, the first year, you stockpiled on running backs. I think this year, because you got 2 of the premier running backs, this is, again, phenomenal pick. I think this is a really good pick here, and I think you did a great job with it. So we're going to keep it moving. Ray Roberts is on the clock, and Ray Roberts in round 3 ended up selecting Las Vegas Raiders running back Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is another guy who we stated. Tough, hard-nosed runner, runs north and south. Great pure runner of the football. Concerns with that is, again, longevity and different things like that. We saw him miss some time last year with the shoulder injury and different things like that. I believe he also had a groin injury or something as well during the year. But outside of that, he's definitely going to get you 1,000 yards. He's definitely not going to shy away from contact. He's definitely going to be a hard-nosed runner. And he knows how to run in between the tackles and outside. So very solid pick here. Then after Ray selected Josh Jacobs, we moved to Chris. And Chris ended up taking none other than the starting running back for the Chicago Bears and David Montgomery. David Montgomery, since he's been in the league, leads the league in broken tackles since he's been in the league. A lot of people don't know that he leads the league, especially in one key category, first missed tackle. The first guy never tackled this guy on, I would say, 70% of the time when he's running the football. You're going to miss if you're the first guy. You're not tackling this guy. His good tackle ability needs to be up in the 90s, if not at 100 in Madden. Phenomenal guy. What are your thoughts on David Montgomery here?
I saw some mic'd up videos of David Montgomery early in this training camp, and he's asking Matt Nagy, when we putting pads on? Why aren't our pads on? This guy is a physical runner. He wants to be elite. You could tell he wants to be in that category. And, this is his year to make that happen. You guys mentioned earlier, the red rifle is under center. So that means basically, I think that's their number one option on offense. That's who they want to run it through. I really do. If you wanted to throw the ball all day in Chicago, Justin Fields would have already been named the starter. But they know that they could run it through David Montgomery and still be as successful and still use Robinson and Mark Mooney in the red zone. So I think He's in for a great year. And Chris, I love your team, by the way, so far. Like, underrated draft 101. You guys will see it later. He has done a phenomenal job just taking value where it's at.
Yes. Very, very good draft. Very good draft. And speaking of, we're going to go ahead and move into my pick. I went with your trend. You took the guy that I was going to take here. I looked at my team and I said, hey, I got a premier running back. I've got a premier wide receiver. These guys, but neither of those guys are guys that are number one at their respective positions, potentially, right? From a fantasy standpoint, maybe from on the field standpoint, potentially, but from a fantasy standpoint, neither guy is necessarily number one. I'm going with the guy who I think is going to be number one this year, and that's going to be Josh Allen. I actually think that he's going to probably put up more points than Patrick Mahomes this year, only because of what he can do with his legs. That's the only reason. There's no other reason than that. I don't think he's going to throw the football more, have more yards. It's just the fact that he can run the football. And I needed a quarterback. You took the quarterback off the board that I wanted, that I thought was going to be able to shake it up. I thought he was going to drop to me, so excellent job picking there. But I had to make sure I get somebody who's premier at the position. Again, being a 9 is really tough. So went with Josh Allen. What are your thoughts? I mean, anything on
second best quarterback in fantasy? I mean, you got the guy, and I think he is a special talent to watch. He's just unbelievable throwing the football. I mean, the velocity and just the arm strength. He's different. He is, but I don't know. I have a weird feeling that if he keeps running at the pace he does, I haven't seen him run into injuries like ever. And like, he's a big guy, and I hope he stays away from that. I really do, because this Bills team could do something this year, and I think they will if he stays healthy for all these games. And I think if you definitely made the right pick if you're looking for a quarterback and the number 2 quarterback, and I think these guys are flip and flop. I mean, if you're betting 2 guys to be the number 1 quarterback in fantasy, Mahomes and Allen, correct? I mean,
yeah, it's definitely going to be something interesting to see. Like I said, I think, what he did last year, if he can continue to just progress from year to year, we're going to see some special things between, both guys. So we're going to go ahead and keep it moving and bring up, well, we're not going to bring up, but we're going to move into the next pick, and that's Luka. Luka is on the clock here. Luka goes back to the trend of wideout here and ended up selecting Mike Evans from Tampa Bay. Again, this pick right here, it's such a solid pick. I like this pick because, again, he's going to get you 1,000 yards, and he's going to score the football. He may not get you a ton of catches, right? So he might have 4 catches, but he'll have 140 yards in those 4 catches and 2 touchdowns. That's the thing I like about Mike Evans. So very, very solid pick there for Luka. And then we move into Matt. Matt ends up taking another wide receiver as well. And we're going to keep this trend of receivers moving. Matt ended up selecting Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, the second receiver here for the Chicago Bears. Give your thoughts on this Allen Robinson pick here.
It's an interesting selection. I think, the combination he has between Kelsey, Hill, and Robinson in the first 3 rounds, like, who are you getting a running back at this point? Like, that's my question. Like, I mean, like, you can wait that long, but at the same time, like, round 4 is max where you could pick a running back. So I'm just a little bit worried there. But, like, the firepower and the receiving, he has 4 wide receivers that are all capable of being wide receiver 2s, I'd say. And, like, that's the case right here. So, I mean, we'll see. But I think a running back probably would have been the selection here with guys just like James Robinson on the board and Miles Sanders and DeAndre Swift. I think they have enough upside to just be able to take them just based on positional value.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very strange to me as well, not having a running back, and we're in round 3 here. So I couldn't agree more with your analysis there. So I'm not even going to speak any further on it. We're going to go back to Mr. A Big Trust himself, Coach Braxton. And Coach Braxton ends up following the trend and goes with another receiver in Chris Godwin. He takes Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So now we've got both Bucs starting wide receivers off the board in round 3. Question: do you think that Antonio Brown maybe takes a bigger role of the offense, and maybe Chris Godwin, doesn't see as many targets or numbers?
I mean, it's a tough question right there, but I just can't see it. I mean, I think Chris Godwin's just too talented for Brady not to recognize that, he deserves the rock, and he deserves the rock in big moments. And last year we did see that. I mean, the NFC Championship game, Chris Godwin proved that him and Tom Brady had a connection that was very special, and it ended up hooking up at the right time, and everything went great. And so I think that this is a good pick right here. And even if you're kind of just debating between him and Evans, I mean, it's very similar. So they're both playing with the GOAT at the end of the day. So it is a wide receiver too, and an elite wide receiver too at that.
Definitely. I'm not mad at it at all. And then we start off round 4 with another quarterback, and Mr. Big Trust does what Mr. Big Trust does and drafts Lamar Jackson. Not mad at this pick at all. With Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes off the board, we're starting in round 4. This is where you're probably expecting some quarterbacks to potentially get off the board. Lamar Jackson, solid. I mean, extremely solid pick. I don't know what other pick other than maybe a Kyler Murray or Aaron Rodgers you would take over Lamar Jackson in this pick. So I'm really, really glad with this pick. We got to bring Mr. Big Trust in.
Man.
And why talk to us? But Lamar Jackson, you got the jersey there. Talk to us, man.
Y'all see that, right? Listen here. The man is out for revenge. Last season, he had a little bit of a down year in his consideration, especially after coming on so strong with an MVP performance. The guy has more weapons. The guy has an improved offensive line from an already good one, with new additions at right guard, new additions at right tackle that will sustain. And we're getting back Johnny Stanley. Listen, expect Lamar Jackson to have close to another MVP performance. He may not have it exactly, but he's going to be close. Definitely close, man. This guy is unbelievable.
Okay. I'm not mad at that at all. Again, like I said, round 4, you've already seen Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen go off the board. The next best bet there is Lamar Jackson. To kick off round 4, that's a solid pick. I think that is really, 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 really smart at the beginning of round 4. Again, especially with the back-to-back. I appreciate thoughts on it, Sam.
I think this is probably the pick I would have made. I went Mahomes in round 3, and I love Jackson this year. I mean, everything you said. And what really makes me mad is I feel like everyone's just waiting for this guy to get injured or something. I mean, he is doing a thing that nobody has done before. He's a different quarterback, and nobody's been like him before. He is Lamar Jackson. There will never be another Lamar Jackson because he was the first guy to do this and be this good in the league running the football. So I'm rooting for him. Big Trust, I'm sure you are. And, I think 4th round selection, you're getting 25 to 30 points like I am with Mahomes pretty much every week, plus a rushing touchdown or 2. So have at it.
Now, I'm glad you put in the caveat that he was the first person to do this in the league, because I was going to say I was Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson. Check the film, check the tape. I was nice. But anyway, we're not going to go there.
Listen, I'm just glad I got my top 3 guys. My starting running back, my starting number 1, wideout, and Lamar. I'm set. Let's get to this year.
All right. Even back on Darren, we're going to go ahead and keep it moving into the next pick. In the 4th round, Matt ended up being back on the clock with the turnaround, and he said, you know what? Well, I'm still not going to take a running back. I'm going to go Kyler Murray here. I'm going to draft a quarterback. Quarterback Kyler Murray for the Arizona Cardinals is off the board to Matt here in round 4, pick number 2. What are your thoughts on this, on the Kyler Murray pick?
I mean, I like it. I think I kind of figured they were going to go back to back with each other there, like the quarterback run right there. And I said Kyler Murray earlier, MVP candidate. If you guys are looking out there for MVP candidates, this is one of your guys. You know, he hasn't really like fully broken out yet to a point where everyone's like, oh, Kyler's a top 7 quarterback no matter what. But he has the guys around him to do that this year. And I would be surprised if him and Cliff Kingsbury didn't just come together and finally make this the season where the Cardinals, 1, win the NFC West, or 2, get a high wild card and compete hard in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I definitely think he has a chance to be an MVP candidate. A ton of weapons. I actually think there may be a resurgence of AJ Green because of Kyler Murray. And
I mean, Rondale Moore, too. They got guys galore. Like, that is another guy that nobody was talking about right now, and he's an absolute playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of reminds me of Kyler. He's just that small, like, shifty, like, you know, they're getting speed and a lot of, like, aggressiveness on that team. And I think they're being a little bit overlooked right now, that loaded NFC West.
Yeah, and I honestly think that he extended, Aaron Rodgers' career a little bit. Not Aaron Rodgers, excuse me, Larry Fitzgerald's career a little bit because of the fact that he wanted to play with this exciting young kid, right? Like, I think that he extended his career a little bit longer than what it could have been, because I believe at one point Larry was, kind of iffy. He's been iffy for the last couple of seasons, but I think Kyler Murray extended his career maybe a season or 2 more than what it could have been. So, like it. We're gonna go ahead and move on. Luka ends up going back to the earlier trend in the first round. Luka ends up taking Jacksonville starting running back James Robinson. This pick I actually love. I love this pick here with Travis Etienne being out for the year now. James Robinson goes back to being the bell cow, the workhorse, the guy who's going to get the majority of the carries. And without having Trevor Lawrence be his quarterback last year, he still had over 1,000 yards. I think he's going to do it again, and he's going to be solid player.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree. I think this was kind of like, I don't want to say meant to be, but in a way, I feel like a lot of people had opinions way when EDM was drafted that Robinson had a great year. Like, why were they drafting running back in round 1? So, here's your chance, James Robinson. Make something happen and stake your claim that, you're a running back 1 and you're a workhorse guy. So here's his chance. I love this pick. I mean, definitely now after the injury, he is a surefire RB2.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we're going to keep it moving. After Luka, I was on the clock. And so after I see James Robinson go off the board, I said to myself, okay, I've got a running back, I've got a premier receiver, I've got a quarterback. What do I want to do here? And honestly, I said to myself, I think I want another receiver who's just going to be consistent. And it was kind of a little bit of bias pick as well because he's my favorite receiver all time behind Terrell Owens. So I went with Julio Jones and the Tennessee Titans. The reason being is because I actually believe, again, because there's no more Corey Davis, I think Julio is going to get a lot more targets. He said he wanted to be with a quarterback who was going to be able to push the ball down the field, which means I'm foreseeing that Julio is going to get down the field a lot more. And with that being said, I think that he's going to put up some numbers. I think because of that as well, it'll extend his career potentially. He won't be as hurt running across the middle of the field and doing all those things because now A.J. Brown can do those different things, right? So I think if Julio is just considered the deep threat, the guy that's just going to get down the field, go for it. And so went with Julio. I have to expect big numbers here. I want to bring up our next drafter here in round 4. Round 4 after me is Chris Thomas. And Chris Thomas ended up taking somebody who I'm not mad at the pick, but I'm not. Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, he's let you know he picks up Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers. Talk to me. What was your thought process here?
Well, I started to see, like, I didn't know Mahomes was going to fall all the way down to the 3rd round. That was perfect for Sam. But then as soon as I saw Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray get taken, I'm like, okay, this might start a trend in where quarterbacks get taken, and I didn't want to be, left out of, not having a top 5 quarterback. So I now will dip. I now have Aaron Jones. I have Aaron Rodgers. And so that way, no matter what the Packers offense does, I still get points, whether Aaron Rodgers slings that thing or Jones just runs it in. It's a win-win.
Not bad, not bad. I mean, is there any concern that Aaron might be like, I don't feel like doing this anymore, whatever, and kind of just mail it in?
No, because people expected. I mean, first year with Matt LaFleur, everybody thought, well, Aaron Rodgers is not going to be, as good as he was. The guy got him to the NFC Championship game before losing to the 49ers. Following year after that, there's a lot of controversy in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP award. And now, once again, there's controversy about whether or not he's going to come back at all, maybe get traded to the Denver Broncos. But he's back. He's got Devontae Adams. Offensive line's fully healthy. He's got Aaron Jones. And they traded for his best buddy, Randall Cobb, back. So Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a fun year to watch him. They have a lot of dynamic wide receivers. Like I said, you already know about Devontae Adams, the reliability of the veteran presence of Randall Cobb. I love the Amari Rodgers pick in the 3rd round. I think the guy is eventually going to be like a baby Randall Cobb. You still got Valdes-Scantling. You still got Al-Azhar. It's going to be a fun offense to watch. Robert Tonyan also.
All right. Thoughts on Sam?
I mean, I agree. I think he kind of saw that trend coming, and I kind of believe in this last Rodgers revenge year. I do. I think he's going to make it happen, and hopefully it'd be great to see another rematch, the NFC Championship, and that's exactly what I'm hoping for. So good luck to number 12 this season, and you too, Chris.
Yeah. Good luck, Sam.
Team, by the way, hell of a team.
Yeah, same to you, man. I can't believe Julio fell to you in the 3rd round. That's ridiculous.
Avery got Julio. I was ending up to get Mahomes.
I mean Mahomes. Can't believe it.
I know.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. We're going to keep it moving. Again, Aaron Rodgers off the board. Ray Roberts then becomes on the clock and takes the tight end that I wanted this entire draft if I wasn't going to be able to get Travis Kelce. And his name is Kyle Pitts. He takes Kyle Pitts from Atlanta. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a really good year, man. I think it's going to start potentially slowly, just kind of getting acclimated to what the NFL is really about, and the speed of the linebackers in the NFL. I think a lot of the time people don't really understand that the linebackers can really run in the NFL. So I think it'll be a little bit of an adjustment for him, but Kyle Pitts, I think, still is going to have a phenomenal year. So very, very good pick there. What are your thoughts on Kyle Pitts?
I was kind of looking to see what you said right there. I mean, he is a young player, but at the same time, such a rare talent that I think a guy like Matt Ryan, who, is such a veteran, that he's going to know how to use him. He will right off the bat. And I think, he's a number 2 weapon on that team. And we said this earlier, they're going to need to score points to win games. Like, they're going to have to. They're in a tough division already. Their defense is very young. It needs to get better. And, I think Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley both will have phenomenal years fantasy-wise.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to have a good year. No Julio Jones. Matt's going to lean on his guys. We saw what he did with when he had a premier tight end, Antonio Gonzalez, somebody who can get down the field, somebody who can make a lot of catches. It'll be very interesting to see. And so I like Kyle Pitts. Moving on, Sam, you were up on the clock. I'm going to let you take it over from here. Talk about your pick.
Yeah, so after Kyle Pitts was taken, I took Cooper Kupp. I didn't have a wide receiver at this point, but I think he's a guy that I think he's going to benefit off the Stafford move. Like, he's going to absolutely love having a guy that can just move around and sling from all arm angles in the pocket. Like, that's going to really help both him and Woods. And then I went with Cooper Kupp being that, I know he's going to get volume and targets. There's a couple guys on that like that list, like the Kenny Galladay's and Deontay Johnson with drop problems, and Galladay's injured. And I'm like, Cooper Kupp will be there. And Matt Stafford will probably love him. So Cooper Kupp, be my number one wide receiver. Sure thing. I mean, I have really no problem with that as long as I could back it up.
Okay, yeah. Listen, I like Cooper Kupp. I typically have Cooper Kupp on my team every single year. I have him in another league. I love Cooper Kupp, like you said. High volume guy, sure-handed guy, one of the best. I personally believe he's the best slot receiver in the NFL. He just does everything that you want. He's a hard, tough-nosed guy. I love what I see out of Cooper Kupp every year. The only concern is the consistency with the targets and the numbers and different things like that. But when he's catching the football, it's just like you know he's going to do his thing. So I love it. That's a phenomenal pick there. I'm loving your team right now. I can't even lie. I can't hold you. Your team is looking really good. All right. So next on the clock, after that was Lewis, and Lewis ended up taking Robert Woods right after Cooper Kupp. So both or two of the LA Rams wide receivers are now at the clock. Robert Woods, what are your thoughts on him taking Robert Woods right after Cooper Kupp?
Honestly, probably my second choice there. You're kind of just deciding between the two, and I think both are on line to probably have close to 1,000 yards this year. I think you probably agree with me, Avery. Like, this is going to be like a good offense. And I think Matt Stafford, this is a new opportunity with him. He's in LA now. He's with his buddy Clayton Kershaw. He's hanging out in Los Angeles. He should have his best year of his career. I mean, like, everything's there right for him. So if that happens, both Woods and Kupp should have great years.
Yeah, definitely should have a phenomenal year. Matthew Stafford loves to spread the ball around. Everybody's going to eat. And yeah, I think it's going to be really good. And I love the fact how the Rams use him. They allow him jet sweeps and different things and stuff like that as well. He runs the football, so he gets points all over the field. Robert Woods is a phenomenal pick in any league. So great pick there. Robert Woods off the board. Then next up was on the clock was Keenan. Keenan ended up taking the starting number one is presumably wide receiver for Dallas, and Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is a solid pick, right? Guy who's a great route runner, strong, can block. He does everything. He's not a diva. He's somebody who just kind of just sticks his head down and gets to work. We'd like to see him be a little more consistent, especially when it comes to going against those top corners in the league. But outside of that, it's you can't really miss with Amari Cooper. So I like the pick there. What are your thoughts?
I was probably going to take him or Kupp. That was kind of what I was deciding between. And, I think there's probably a little bit of a chance that CeeDee Lamb becomes a wide receiver one there. And, like, I know me and you kind of, like, agreed, like, internally that when CeeDee Lamb was taken, this guy's kind of a little bit forgotten about. I mean, that's Amari. That's Amari. He is Dak's favorite wideout. Dak loves him. Like, you got to remember that. So it was tough for me to pass on him. But I think if Dallas can throw the football this year, Amari will be fine. And I think I heard good reports about his health. He's been resting, and I think he'll be all ready to go week one.
I like it. Yeah, like I said, I mean, definitely Dak's favorite receiver. I think there's going to be some more rapport building with CeeDee Lamb that needs to be had. He didn't get a real chance to play with him last year, obviously due to the injury. So I agree. I agree 100%. So next on the clock was Darius Riddick. Darius is on the clock, and he ends up taking another running back one, and that was none other than Miles Sanders. He goes Miles Sanders from Philadelphia, which is a very, very solid pick to complement Derrick Henry. I think that's a really, really solid pick. What do you think?
Sanders is one of those interesting players, like, kind of in the league right now where everyone expects him to make that jump, but he's on a team that really might not allow him to, like, really, like, be that guy a lot of people were hoping. And I think the Eagles' backfield alone, like, they have guys that it can use. And I think they're not going to like let Boston Scott just stand there on the sidelines. Like that's not going to happen. And like I like Sanders. He's a Penn State guy. I mean, he is a unbelievable talent, an explosive one at that. But at the same time, I don't know if he's an RB1. And then he also struggles with injuries, and like if he's your RB2, like that's a solid way to go. But at the same time, it's a risky move. I feel like it really is, and I could see this offense kind of being a pass-heavy one now.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be a pass-heavy offense, but he's a good receiving back, so I have a little bit of faith in that. I think that my only concern, obviously, is their offensive line, right? And then, like you said, his health. But, I mean, I think Miles Sanders, he probably – I think reports are that he put on about 5 pounds this offseason. So he kind of bulked up a little bit there. But, again, the fact that he can run the football and catch the ball, I think that is a good combo. Obviously, we see that's the trend of the NFL running back now. But the question is, with the young quarterback, with the offensive line questions, how effective are you going to be? So I agree with the hesitation there. So let's see here. Next up is Richie. I'll let you go ahead and talk about Richie's pick here. Richie ended up picking, I believe it was, that's it. Oh, goodness gracious, my app is messing up. He ended up selecting DJ Moore. Talk to me about DJ Moore. What do you feel? Because I'm honestly projecting a big year for DJ Moore.
A big year for DJ Moore? I mean, I feel like there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense still. Like there really is. And Robbie Anderson and McCaffrey being healthy, if he is for all those games, it's definitely going to take targets away from DJ Moore, which makes him scoring even more of a priority. So, I don't know. I had DJ Moore last year, and he is up and down. Like, that's just my only problem. But, you could see bursts in him where he can be elite. So, Avery, if what you're saying, like, I definitely don't think it's impossible he makes that crazy jump, but I am not the biggest DJ Moore supporter, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think he's like a top tier receiver, if that makes sense, right? I don't think he's like a guy that you're like, oh, well, yeah, he's going to shut it down no matter who he goes up against. I just think that he's going to have a bigger year this year, obviously having Sam Darnold at quarterback. So that's, where I'm at in that regard.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to bring up the CEO again here. And move on here. And our CEO was on the clock here. And let's bring up Mr. Jerome Jones, a.k.a. Don't Sing on the Air Out podcast, a.k.a. Rico Suave.
Hey.
Talk about your pick here.
I got a lot of good reviews for my singing, okay? It was on me, but still, it was good reviews.
Comment.
All right. The reason why I want to get on for this one, because this is the pick that, again, I had to look ahead of the schedule, and this pick was like spot on. I knew he was going to be here by the time I got him. I really thought that he's a really good running back that's going to be a good compliment to Christian McCaffrey as my second running back. And I'm saying DeAndre Swift. I mean, he's going to be the starter. I mean, Williams is going to be there. Jamal Williams, I don't think he's going to take too many carries from him. Swift looked really good at the end of the year, and I had to take him because I think that he's going to have a breakout year this year. With, what's his name from that used to come from the Rams quarterback. Thinking on his name. Jared Goff. Jared Goff being the quarterback there and not having a lot of receiving help for him. I think that DeAndre Swift is going to get a lot of the bulk of the runs. He got a defensive-minded coach who's gonna most likely like to run the ball, keep the defense fresh. So I think that he's going to get a lot of carries. I think he's going to be really good, and I like him as my number 3 running back. What you guys think, though?
Listen, I like it. I mean, honestly, I think right now, being the number 1 slot, we're doing a pretty good job. Christian McCaffrey and DeAndre, you can't go wrong with that as a 1-2 combo for running back. I mean, that's very, very solid. And then, like I said, with the receivers, the potential. That's where it's really for me. It's just like the potential is so high for those guys. I think you're doing really good. Now we're moving into those money rounds though. So we're now into round 5, and I don't know why he went off the board. We should have just kept him up, but might as well keep him up. You drafted your tight end here, and you went with Mark Andrews.
Yes, sir. I actually was debating getting Kittle a lot earlier, actually in my CD Lamb spot. When I'm getting CD Lamb instead of Kittle, I have Kittle in another league, so I was kind of like, I'm picking a lot of the same players. That's not the total reason, but I was thinking about him. Then on the wraparound, I thought about Kyle Pitts. I was like, all right, this might be a good spot, but then I wanted to make sure I got Swift, and then Kyle Pitts got picked anyway. So I was like, all right, Mark Andrews is a really good tight end. Lamar Jackson loves him. I know that Darius Braxton's out there looking at that pick, and I wanted to pick him so I can finesse him in the trade. So Darius, I love you, man. I love you.
That's petty. That is petty. I'm not mad at him.
I had to do it. No, Darren, you know you're my guy. I got you. But you did get finessed in that trade. I'm just saying. If you haven't heard, go watch Air It Out podcast. We talked about it extensively, but yeah, so that's why I picked that pick.
All right, okay. We're gonna have to bring Coach Braxton on to kind of rebuttal when it's turn to draft.
Bring him on. What's up?
Listen here. First off, you already know what the trade would be for Andrews. Hand up Jefferson and Andrews. You can have Adams. But sir, the finesse game is over. The finesse game is over. It never started. Never was going to happen. It was just an unlucky draw of Cam being released. I still don't understand. How does Cam get released, people? Released, not bench, not second string, but released.
COVID.
For those who don't know what's going on here, if this is your first time tuning in and you're wondering, what are they talking about? There's another draft that me, Jerome, and Darren participated in outside of this one. And I had Justin Fields, Cam Newton, and Gus Edwards. Darren had J.K. Dobbins and Russell Wilson. J.K. Dobbins goes down for the year. Okay? Gus Edwards is not one of my starting running backs. He's actually like fourth or fifth on my depth chart as far as running backs. And Darren ends up sending a trade to me for Gus Edwards. Nothing wrong with that because my starting running backs were like, I think it was like Saquon Barkley, Chase Edmonds, Damian Harris. Gus Edwards was going to be a second, the second string running back, so he's on my bench. Okay, cool, whatever. However, the trade that he sent me, I didn't really need any receivers. I resent the trade to him for Cam Newton and Gus Edwards for Russell Wilson. Why? He needs a running back one. Gus Edwards clearly moves into the running back one spot, and that's a phenomenal pickup if you can, because he's going to be the number one running back in a heavy run first offense.
If you say so.
I need a quarterback because, again, at the time, they didn't pronounce whether or not Justin Fields would be the starter. So I'm like, well, let me try it to see if I can get Russell Wilson. I proposed the trade for Cam Newton, Gus Edwards for Russell Wilson. He's like, I don't know about that. Understood. So I said, hey, I'll throw in Justin Fields because we all know he's probably going to end up starting sometime midway through the season, and he's going to light it up. He accepted the trade. There's no way we could have foresaw that the very next day Justin Fields is not named the starter, and 3 days later Cam Newton gets cut. He can't foresee that. I can't foresee that.
I wasn't even worried about Fields. That's the thing. Fields was my
Exactly.
thrower. Fields was my halfway through the season. I'm gonna start him, get my points.
There's no
Cam, come on. Patriots been doing them dirty in the media anyway. The reports of Mac Jones having to help Cam Newton learn the playbook, ludicrous.
disrespect.
That's not true.
Right. Hey, they doing my man dirty, but it's cool. It's cool.
We'll see, man. But
All right, well,
I'm not gonna say nothing else. I'm gonna let you live. My boy. But we gotta talk.
I can't wait to see what trades come from this draft. All right, we're going to keep it moving. We're in round 5. We've been it's 2 hours and 45 minutes in here. So we're going to start ramping this thing up a little bit. And Richie's on the clock next. Richie, after Jerome selects Mark Andrews, Richie's on the clock. Richie ends up taking wide receiver from Seattle, Tyler Lockett. This is not a bad pick. Now, here's my question to you, Sam. Who's wide receiver 1? Who's wide receiver 1 in Seattle?
DK. I don't think there's a question. Just the size and the ability to like go up and get jump balls. I think, him and Russ, like that's Russ's game. Like Avery, those beautiful missiles that Russ loves to throw that just sail all the way down the field.
Yeah.
He's the king of that. And DK Metcalf is going to catch those balls. And he is a monster at that. And a lot of people who doubted him just because he was like so big and so strong, everyone's like, oh, he can't be that good. Well, he is that good. So I watched him have a great year in Seattle. Also, Tyler Lockett, too. Disgusting player, but, he's still going to get his catches and his work. But I just think DK is probably a little bit better in the fantasy world.
I can agree that DK is number 1, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, DK with this body fat thing, he's going to get hurt a lot," and yada yada yada. And nah, he's doing his thing in the league. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't see, or if you haven't noticed, we've got the draft board up. You can see we're a couple of rounds in. We were announcing the picks, but now we want you guys to see what's been going on in the draft room. The draft is going on, and it's going well. It's pretty good. We're just going to kind of talk about some of the picks that we either like or have some question marks about. So after Tyler Lockett was David Johnson. Was it David Johnson or no? Dante Johnson from Pittsburgh, receiver from Pittsburgh. Going to is that Darius' team? Yes, to Darius' team. And then Dak Prescott goes to Keenan. I think Dak is going to have a phenomenal year. I want to pause for the calls right here. What are your thoughts on Dak this year?
Yeah, Avery, I wanted to make a note on that anyway. I mean, 5th round for Dak Prescott, who is coming off a major injury. I don't know. I mean, look at it. He's drafted in front of Russell Wilson, Tannehill, Herbert, and Brady. Like, you think he finishes in front of them? Like, I don't. I really don't.
I mean, it was an auto draft. So the auto draft in that situation, I mean, potentially means the computer feels like Dak is going to outperform these guys. Do you agree?
That team also has Amari Cooper, which I really like too. Is that like that duo right there? I think that would help that kind of pick be justified a bit more. But I think there are better quarterbacks than Dak. I don't know. Last year he was unbelievable, and just to see him go down was really sad. I was a Giants fan. I was watching that game, and I was rooting for the Giants. But still, like it was a rough moment seeing him just go down because you knew how much this game means to him and how much that team means to him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds off that year. And he's a strong person like that, where he's going to respond with it in a tough way. But I think it might be the Zeke show for the first half of the year.
Sure.
He's worked on his body and he's ready for that. And he knows what Dak's situation is. It might not be perfect. So it might be the Zeke show.
Agreed. So after Dak Prescott, Then Lewis goes back on the clock and ends up selecting Adam Thielen. I'm actually pretty surprised that Adam Thielen fell to round 5, to be honest. Adam Thielen goes off the board and followed by TJ Hawkinson. For you, Sam, why TJ Hawkinson here in round 5 and not say, Mike Gesicki or Dallas Goedert?
I think both Gesicki and Goddard, like, they have roles on their team, but there's also other tight ends on their team that, like, catch passes and score touchdowns. I mean, last year I had Gesicki in my team, and there was random Dolphin tight ends getting open for touchdowns. The two was just lofting the ball. And then same with the Eagles. They still have a guy who won a Super Bowl there and who was a big part of their team, and now he's changed his mind, and he wants to be a part of their team forever, and Zach Ertz. So, it's hard for me to take Goddard when he's not a starting tight end. But anyways, I think, Hawkinson's probably right after Pitts, and I think him and right after Andrews. I think that's where I'd put him in the order. And I think he is a top 5 tight end. And Jerome kind of mentioned something earlier about Jared Goff, bringing a little spark and a little bit of a little differency into this offense. So maybe TJ Hawkinson has his breakout year this year, and I get lucky.
Man, I wouldn't be surprised. And we saw again, like you kind of touched on, Jared Goff. He throws the tight ends.
Yeah.
We saw what he did in LA with the Rams. He was one of the reasons that Higbee and those tight ends over there get drafted so high because of the fact that their draft value went up, their price tags went up because of Jared Goff throwing the tight end. So I agree with you, man. I think TJ Hawkinson here was a great pick. That I just wanted to ask what your thought process was, because some people would say, well, Mike Gesicki or Dallas Goedert, they're more, pass, and even Noah Fant, they're more pass-catching tight ends, quote-unquote. But I agree with your assessment. Jared Goff is the quarterback now. So, excellent pick. Russell Wilson goes off the clock. Then after that to Ray. Listen, man, let's talk about Ray's team, because he silently has a phenomenal squad. I mean, at least the first 5 rounds, he did amazing in my opinion. Saquon, DK, Josh Jacobs, Kyle Pitts, and Russell Wilson. That's phenomenal to me. I think he did a great job through those first 5 rounds. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think he got a lot of value for like where he was kind of picking, you know what I mean? And I think DK probably, he's projected to go right around there, but still, when I look back on this first round, Austin Eckler going 5 was a little surprising, I would have to say. I think both Zeke, Barkley, Elliott, and I think Nick Chubb are probably have to be ranked ahead of Austin Eckler at this point. But no, like I think Kyle Pitts will be interesting. And then he has 2 wide receivers that are, former Pro Bowlers that are definitely trying to prove something this year. One in Kenny Galladay and one in Juju. Like both need to prove something. Kenny Galladay just got paid a bag of money from my team, and he needs to start playing football right away. Or if he sits on the sideline for a couple games, he is going to be hated on by the New York media like crazy. So he has stuff to play for, and so does Juju. Juju is a TikTok star, but he needs to realize that he is a Pittsburgh Steeler, and there are expectations there for him to do stuff. And there's a money bag waiting for him at the end of the season if he has 1,000 yards. So I think both those wide receivers, a little edge, a little big toughness, red zone guys, I think those are good picks.
Yeah, very, 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 very good picks, man. I'm loving Ray's team. It's a really, really solid team. All right, so after Russell Wilson, then Chris takes my sleeper receiver that I was hoping would fall one more slot to me in Odell Beckham, because I definitely would have taken him. But so great pick there. Odell Beckham in round number 5 to Chris Thomas. So because Odell Beckham goes off the board, I say, let me get another starting running back in the NFL, right? He's not a RB1 in most leagues in a sense, but because he's a starting running back in the NFL, you can't go away with it. And Chase Edmonds also catches the ball out the backfield, so that's why I went Chase Edmonds.
You mind if I asked you why you passed on Gaskin there?
3 reasons. Number 1, Arizona is going to be a pass-heavy offense, right? And because he's a pass-catching back, right? So you bring in a James Conner and everything. Like they're gonna throw the football, right? Kyler Murray loves to spread the ball around. Cliff Kingsbury loves to call up and draw up passing plays. Chase Edmonds again. We saw in Drake in our offense, so we're going to see shades of that as well with Chase Edmonds. So that's number one. Number two, the question marks with Tua. No offense to Tua. I'm a Bama fan. I love Tua, and I believe he's going to succeed. But what I saw last year, the inconsistency has me concerned. And that's probably the biggest reason. But that has me concerned with how well the Dolphins are going to do. And Myles Gaskin kind of jumped on the scene out of nowhere last year. And so I wonder if that's a situation where, okay, he's somebody who's legit, or is this something that is, kind of a walk, like a fluke or whatever. So my question mark's there. And then number three, they're not a really, at least what I saw last year, they're not a team that really lights up the scoreboard. Arizona's going to put points up. Miami doesn't really. They're really solid on defense, right? They play solid defense. They stop you from scoring and score enough to win the game. Arizona, they're like, we're trying to score 60 a game. And so for me, those are the three reasons that I'm like, I think I want to go Chase Edmonds over Gaskin here. It was definitely a tough choice, but between him, Edmonds and Gus Edwards, like I said, I'm looking at the team that's like, we're trying to knock your socks off with scoring points, and so that's the reason. Those are the reasons I went with Chase there instead of Gaskin.
For sure. I mean, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about my team and the wide receivers I was kind of able to get after just taking Chubb and Gibson right away, and then
dude, your wide receiving core is so sick and so underrated. Laviska Shenault. I wanted him so bad. I almost drafted Laviska Shenault over, who did I take? Where am I at here? Over Jarvis Landry. I almost took Laviska Shenault over Jarvis Landry. The only reason I took Jarvis over Laviska Shenault is just simply because Laviska Shenault is still not considered number one. We're not even sure if he's number two, quote unquote, and we don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle. Exactly.
Lawrence.
So for me, I know Jarvis Landry. We saw what he did when Odell went down last year. He continued to be the Jarvis Landry that we see year in and year out since he was in Miami. So that's the reason why I went with Jarvis over Laviska Shenault. But that is phenomenal. Laviska Shenault, Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, and Cooper Kupp. You're talking about guys who are just short-handed, who can run routes for days. Laviska Shenault, again, the points that you're going to get from the kick returns as well, and he can run the football. Phenomenal. And then you go Cole Beasley just to round it out. Oh my goodness. Listen, man, I think your receiver, your team in general is really good. I think the Chubb Hubbard was a phenomenal pick. Chubb Hubbard is my guy. I think obviously with Christian McCaffrey there, he's not going to see a ton of carries. But let's say Christian McCaffrey gets hurt again. Let's just say, now you got Chubb Hubbard.
Exact thought process.
Who's phenomenal. More importantly, he's going to need a spell anyway. Listen, like I said, your team, between your team, Chris's team, and Luke's team, honestly, I'm not sure which team I like the most. Really, really solid teams.
I would have to give the CEO a little shout out too. I mean, from that number one spot, I mean, that is a tough spot, and he has guys with potential galore. I mean, Swift, Javonte Williams, Corey Davis, Robbie Anderson, those are league winners. Like, they're league winners just based on where they're drafted.
And check out his most recent pick. I don't think people are really sleeping on that Tevin Coleman pick. Like, there was a really big running back battle between Tevin Coleman and Michael Carter and everybody down in up in New York, man. So there's a possibility if Michael Carter isn't toting the rock, that Tevin Coleman becomes a starter now, and we know he's going to catch the ball out the backfield. So that was such an underrated pick. Yeah, Jerome is a very, very solid team. And again, like I said, from that number one position, I think the way he drafted was well. I'm kind of skeptical about the back-to-back quarterbacks. That's the only move that I'm kind of skeptical about. But I'm not mad at Justin Fields being on your bench. Because week 6, again, I'm thinking around week 5 or 6, if he gets in the game, man, I'm telling you, I think he's going to light up the league. So phenomenal picks going on. Any picks on this board that you're looking at? You're like, I'm not sure about that.
Avery, I want to discuss with you this. I mean, do you think Fields deserves to be picked in front of Trey Lance? I don't.
Part of me, okay, so it's tough, right? One, I think honestly, Chicago has the better weapons. That's my personal opinion. I think they have the better weapons outside of George Kittle, right? I think George Kittle is obviously the number one guy in San Fran. But outside of George Kittle, I'm not super sold on Debo. So I question that. I'm not super sold on Brandon Ayuk, so I question that. I'm sold on Allen Robinson through and through. I'm 100% sold on him. He's phenomenal. I think Mooney's going to be really good as well. And Anthony Miller, I think, is going to have a better season if, in fact, Justin Fields – we'll see how it starts off with Andy Dalton. But I think they're going to have a better season. Now, with that being said, the other reasons that I'm taking Justin Fields – Jimmy Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did do that.
It's going to be hard to get him off the field. If he's playing well and he stays healthy and that team it starts rolling and gets going and they're winning football games, it's going to be hard to take Jimmy Garoppolo off the field. Right? I understand that the expectation is probably going to happen in that regard. You don't take a guy at number 3 overall and don't play him. And we've heard Shanahan already say he's going to see time. But I think it's a situation where he could potentially not start until next year. Justin Fields, to me, just has more potential to start this year. Yeah. If Andy Dalton slacks off, again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Andy Dalton, for through the first 4 to 6 games, has to go 500 or better to keep his job. I don't care if it's 1 game below 500. He's gone. It's Justin Fields' time. That's just my personal opinion. So that's just me. What do you think?
I'm thinking Trey Lance all day. Like Kyle Shanahan's been dreaming of this guy and his offense and his system, and like you could just tell like this is the guy that they actually wanted. And watching him in the preseason, like even though that may not mean a lot, he was electric. I mean, he was making throws. He looked like smooth in the pocket. I know he already got kind of roughed up with a thumb injury, but at the same time, this is a team that's going to be competing hard for a playoff spot. 1, because they're in NFC West. 2, like they're going to be needing to get a wild card if they cannot win that division, which I don't know if they can. I don't think they can with the Rams and Seattle already having their units like set. Like they are ready to compete. But the Niners are still trying to figure things out a little bit. So I think they need to give Trey Lance the keys a little sooner than let's go. There's an auto pick there, Hunter Henry. I was hoping my guy didn't get taken. Mr. Brian Edwards. Where is he?
Yeah. Solid pick. I think you've got Brian Edwards in back-to-back drafts this time. Like I think you got Brian Edwards.
I'm a supporter. I mean, I saw Derek Carr kind of hyping him up recently. A lot of people are hyping him up. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but at the same time, we just talked about those Vegas wide receivers kind of being non-existent. Like there needs to be some identity over there besides a Darren Waller. So this round was pretty interesting. I mean, Tevin Coleman was just picked. Devontae Parker was just picked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like Devontae Parker this year. I mean, I think he's in a tough spot, Avery, at this point. Like,
yeah, man.
He's in Miami, and it seems like they kind of said, hey, Devontae, like, we got younger and faster guys than you. So, like, you might be, like, our 4th option, maybe. Like, no, he's going to be a 3rd option. But, like, still, like, that team is ready to move on, and they know their offense wasn't explosive enough with him as their number 1 wideout. So,
yeah. So now here's something I need to talk about. I think it's the elephant in the room, and I want to bring him on if he's still available. Can we bring Matt on? There's not one running back on his roster that's a starter.
Oh, I know. I was about to bring that up like 3 times.
Not one.
Trey Sermon,
back up.
AJ Dillon,
back up.
Sonny Michel,
back up.
Tony Pollard,
back up. Matt is unavailable, unfortunately.
And then
What
he just took
happened?
Trevor Lawrence and Kyler Murray, man. He is a bunch of quarterbacks.
I mean, what happens here? I mean, he's literally banking on Travis Kelce and Tyreek.
Yeah, I mean, I love his wideouts too. Like, I would take Tyreek, Allen Robinson, IU.
Right? Yeah.
But like, I mean, Sermon he's a rookie competing in a very like competitive team and a deep running back group. I mean, Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, like there's like 5 names on that depth chart that can play running back. So that's what's tough for me. And then Sony Michel is just traded to the Rams. So you think he's going to be okay in Sean McVay's complicated offense out of the gates? No way. That's going to be Darnell Henderson's job. They're gonna ask him to do his job first before they try to give Sony Michel a shot. And Sony Michel never looked elite to me in New England. I don't think he was at any point. And, you know, Damian Harris beat him out. Damian Harris is a better player than him. And a lot of players kind of like got more carries than Michel did even when he was a lead guy in New England. So now mainly just kickers and defenses kind of going here. One pick I did want to look at, Chris Thomas made a phenomenal. You know, this is a draft I really like. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Odell Beckham and Michael Thomas and Calvin Ridley. So by week 7, that could be his wide receivers, you know.
Yeah.
And if all 3 of those guys are playing as they should or as they think they probably should, dangerous team.
Very, very dangerous.
Dangerous team. I mean, Aaron Jones, Montgomery, Ridley, Beckham, Thomas, Chark. I love Marquez Callaway too. I love that guy. I mean, he's basically got Michael Thomas replacement for 6 weeks on his bench. So he's got flexibility galore. I think that was another phenomenal draft. I'm just trying to take a look at this draft board here and really search it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the tight ends, that was interesting.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just stuck on the running backs, man. That's just, again, just all backups. Okay. Here's a question, because I don't see him off the board. Zach Wilson. Thoughts?
That's a great question.
What are your thoughts?
I'm on the clock. I might go right there. No,
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to take my guy Stoney Shepard. There we go. And I think Zach Wilson might have a great year, and I think it kind of relies on how he develops with that young talent around him. Like, if they get production out of Elijah Moore right away and they get good production out of Corey Davis, he's going to have a good rookie year. He's going to have one. Because, one, they're not in a division where, like, they're playing a heavy, like dog every week. That's not going to happen. Like, they're going to play Miami. They're going to experience the AFC East, and I think that's good for him. But it's also it'll be interesting to see what really happens. It really will be.
Now,
here we are.
Elijah Moore taken in round, I think, was that 7 or was that 8?
That early.
I think that's a great pick by Darren on the back-to-back after getting Jamar Chase and then Elijah Moore. I think Elijah Moore is going to have a really, really good year.
So I've heard like multiple times from like already like all pros that like they're like Odell Beckham said he's like, oh, Elijah Moore is going to be an all-pro his rookie year.
Yeah. Like,
you don't kind of just say that stuff without like it like being somewhat true, and that guy's like a supreme talent. Like, that stuff doesn't come out. Like, Odell was barely that his rookie year, like barely. And he probably thinks of his rookie year as his best year. So
now I'm gonna give away my Mr. Relevant pick here. I'm going to select him if nobody else does. So if you do, fine. But
I ain't taking him.
Kentavious Toney, thoughts?
Kadarius Toney, I mean, I really think it's an interesting pick because, and we haven't seen much of him during this preseason, but like, I think that's also like a very positive thing. And I give up the Giants a lot. So like, what I see is he's already clicking with the team, 1, and 2, he is a guy that's going to help Daniel Jones in short yardage opportunities. You know, sometimes he's stuck in the pocket just hanging there, and he's going to get killed if he just sits there and tries to wait for a 14-yard route to open. Like, We need to start dumping the ball down more, and we do have the weapons finally now to do that. You know, you got Tony, Slayton, Shepard, Engram. Like, this is an offense that really doesn't have any more excuses at this point. No one does on the roster. Like, they're all playing for something. So I'm excited to see that really just try to all come together. It's going to be like really interesting to see if they could really put it together. But I love Tony, and I think there's not a reason why they would have taken him at 20 unless he was an absolute, just a playmaker that could score from all over the field. I'm sure you agreed. I mean, they traded down.
Yeah.
They gave Justin Fields to Chicago.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think that he might have a breakout season midway through the season. I think that a lot of people kind of are sleeping on that. So it's between him. Well, it's between him and one other guy that I'm thinking as Mr. Irrelevant. Now, let me ask you this, because I'm just seeing it. Somebody who used to be perennially talked about in the top 3 to 5. That is Zach Ertz just gets drafted in the last round. Thoughts on that?
Wow.
Last round.
I really wish I saw that. I
Yep,
mean,
Mr. CEO.
That is a great pick. I mean, the fact that Jerome has 3 tight ends, and if it was anyone else, I would have a problem with that. But no, like this makes total sense. And all 3 guys have great potential. I mean, Mark Andrews in an elite offense, one has made his claim for being a very reliable pass catcher for Lamar. And then Jonnu Smith in a new organization now. I mean, he has everything in front of him. He does. But I think it'll be interesting to see what Ertz really does. So I think it's a good pick to end your draft. I mean, Zach Ertz, who knows? Maybe Jalen Hurts really likes Zach Ertz. Like, we won't know until we see this full Philadelphia Eagles offense. Like, he's been there for a while. So there might be a chance that Hurts looks at him as the leader. Like, he is the leader in that locker room. So he might get more catches than I believe he will. Okay, I am on the clock here.
You Mr. Irrelevant pick. Your Mr. Irrelevant pick. Who we got, Sam?
It's definitely going to be a kicker. I want to take Matt Prater. He's kicking for the Cardinals. That'll be fine. And then I just need a defense, I think, to round out my roster. But Avery, like, we're looking at the rounds here, and there's all the way down to about 28. Do you think we're drafting all those rounds, or is that just
no? Just 17 rounds. I believe we're around 15 now. We got two more picks after this. Let's see here.
I'm gonna look at your team here and kind of give it my old look here.
Sure, man. I'm gonna go here.
Wow.
I'm gonna go here.
What was your process during like the Melvin Gordon pick? Like, what were you thinking there?
Well, Melvin Gordon, to me, the reason I went there is I've got two starting running backs, and then there's other running backs on the board that are taken off the board, but I wanted Mike Davis, if we're going to keep it 100%. I wanted Mike Davis. I'm not a believer in Henderson yet. Raheem Mostert, I do like Mostert, and I wanted to go Mostert as well, but again, Mostert was off the board. So Damian Harris, Ryan Mostert, and Henderson go off the board. Henderson, I was kind of iffy on. I probably still would have taken Gordon over him, but I wanted Mike Davis. Mike Davis was off the board. Lewis takes him, kind of shoots me in the foot there. Now I'm left with, do I want to take the chance on Ronald Jones? I have Ronald Jones in a ton of leagues. But do I want to take the chance on Ronald Jones? Like, he could easily be beat out for that spot by Leonard Fournette. We all saw that Leonard Fournette was the kind of the bell cow toward the end of the season, especially when they got into the Super Bowl and different things like that. He's had what it seems like the better relationship with Tom Brady. He's looked at as being the pass catching back. All of those different things. Do I want to take the risk on Ronald Jones in that regard? And then, like I said, I'm looking around and I'm like, there's not a lot of other starting running backs. I don't believe Zach Moss is going to be blowing us away with numbers because they're going to be pass heavy, right? And because Josh Allen might take away some of his carries with his own legs. Melvin Gordon is the starting running back in Denver at this point. There's no more Philip Lindsay backing him up. The only other person is Javonte Williams, and well, one, he was already off the board, but two, there's no guarantee that he's going to see as much time if Melvin Gordon is any shade of what he was with the Chargers. If
Yeah, I
he's any
agree.
shade of that,
I think Javonte Williams is kind of being a little overvalued. Like, I don't want to just say that, being like, oh, he's just a rookie, so I haven't seen him play. But, like, you know, like if Melvin Gordon's going later than him, like, it'd be really surprising to me to see Vic Fangio and Teddy Bridgewater trust a rookie over that. Like, it's not like they have an offense like run by like Tom Brady where they can, you know, like handle a rookie running back making like little mistakes back there. No, this is an offense that needs to compete now because Teddy Bridgewater will be pulled after 3 weeks if they start 0-3. And I hope they do start 0-3 because the Giants play in week 1. But, you know, we'll have to see.
And the other thing about it is, again, he's a pass catching back as well. So that was the reason that I went with Melvin Gordon. You know, my team, I'm not fully sold on, and I know that's you're not supposed to say that, but I'm not fully sold on it. We're in round 16, correct?
Correct. Yes.
All right, I'm gonna go. Man, no, I'm gonna. You know what? This is what I'm gonna do. I want to back up my guy here. Make sure we have a backup, and I think that as long as he stays healthy, he's gonna do his thing.
All right.
So I'm going to take Carson Wentz here.
Great pick.
Needed a backup quarterback. And again, if Carson Wentz can go back to 2017 Carson Wentz, I mean, we might see some magical things. He's behind one of the best offensive lines in football, if not the best offensive line in football. They're going to be able to run the football. And again, he's my backup, you know, so this is if Josh Allen starts to stink up the place or whatever, you know. I've got what I believe to be a pretty solid backup. Quez Watkins. What are your thoughts on Quez Watkins, man? I mean, I see him in preseason just kind of lighting it up, doing his thing. And
he's been interesting. Like, that's really interesting just to see how, like, he's kind of going in drafts like this now. But, you know, he's an explosive athlete, I think. The Eagles are young enough to a point where, like, they're going to try things out. So I think them not giving Quez Watkins a chance doesn't really make sense to me. Like, personally, just because of how talented he is, like, how fast he is, 1, and 2, like, the Eagles don't have that loaded of a roster going, hey, like, Quez Watkins can't run, like, 10 routes today. You know what I mean? Like, might as well give him a chance and let him run his go routes and just see what happens because – one, like, no offense to any Eagles fans out there, they're not going to be competing, I don't think, for the NFC East crown this year. I can't see it, but I can see them competing hard and giving their young guys a chance and, like, kind of getting names out there that are going to be, like, actually, like, the cult of this team, you know, like they need more guys that are part of, like, the foundation. They don't have enough right now. So if he can do that.
So you're on the clock here. And
I'm going to take the Browns defense based on Myles Garrett.
I was just about to say, you don't have a defense. I don't think you can go wrong with the Browns defense. Myles Garrett, now he's paired with Jadeveon Clowney. It looks like we'll be putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. A lot of people give Jadeveon Clowney slack because he doesn't really produce a lot of slacks, but he does produce a lot of QB pressures and QB hits. They don't translate in sacks, but when you got another guy on the other side, and Myles Garrett, who's actually racking up the sacks, I think that's going to bode well for their defense. Couple that with you got a phenomenal corner in Denzel Ward, and if I believe they say we got Greedy Williams and different things like if these guys start to pan out, and then they draft another corner, young corner that he, man, I think that the Browns defense could arguably be top 5 if done well. Coupled with that, with the fact that they should be on the field long with how well the Browns run the football. They're methodical in their offense. They stay on the field long. I think the Browns are going to have a really solid year defensively. So that's a very good pick. I was going to go Browns, but the reason I didn't go Browns and I went Broncos for the same reasons. Bradley Chubb and Von Miller finally on the field at the same time. Can we please get these guys healthy for one season? Please get
the best defense in the league. I really do, Avery. I think that's the best defense in the league.
Then you bring in Kyle Fuller,
Callahan, Simmons. I mean, they're loaded across the board. I mean, everywhere.
Yeah, man. Listen, I really, really, truly hope that we can get a full season, or at least give us like 12 games. Von Miller and Bradley Chubb fully healthy. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to see that. I cannot wait to see that. It's going to be a nightmare for opposing offenses. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know if the Falcons play the Broncos. I hope they don't because it's going to be a rout. But listen, man. Listen. People are so sleeping on Von Miller, saying he's washed, he's old, he's past his prime, all those different things. And I'm not saying that that's not the case, but I just feel like he's got more in the tank. And then Bradley Chubb, man, he's a freak in and of himself.
To see him get hurt last season. I mean, like, I was a guy that, like, he wasn't like, I mean, he was highly scouted and highly ranked in his draft class, but at the same time, there was no talk of him going top 3. I mean, he was a guy that kind of like flipped off a little bit. He's a guy that honestly the Giants probably looked at instead of Saquon Barkley, and that's a huge draft. That's like really like noticeable now. Like I feel like in the NFL, like that's the Baker draft. I mean, that was interesting to see. And I'm taking my last guy, my last pick, and my main man, Mr. Daniel Jones, is my backup quarterback. I had him last year.
I love that.
So I have to stick with my guts, and just in case anything horrific happened to the best quarterback in the league right now that's on my roster, Mr. Patrick Mahomes, Danny Dimes could just step in. So it'll be really an interesting season to see if he keeps his job. You know, like he's fighting for his job, which is also gets me fired up, and I think it'll get him fired up that he's like on the border of just losing out on this opportunity. I think he thinks of himself as a franchise quarterback, so I really hope he proves that this year.
I love it. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. It's I think that Daniel Jones takes a huge leap this year, man. I'm actually hoping that he does, man.
I do too. I'm really rooting.
He's got everything that you want, man. He can move. He's just really good, man. I hope he takes the leap. All right, I'm gonna let you make the pick here, man. For me, between these 3 guys, because I'm not sure who to pick. AJ Green, Sammy Watkins, or the guy who returns home and potentially has QB back in Randall Cobb.
I think you go AJ Green. You were talking about him earlier, and you're feeling a comeback type of story. I think he's on an offense where he kind of knows that, like, you know, like there's going to be opportunities to get in the end zone and, like, you know, do your thing again. And I think he wants to, you know, being stuck in Cincinnati and then kind of like having the last 2 to 3 years be like, like he wants to win. And also he wants to probably like compete and play and be a part of this Cardinal team. So I think that's the right pick to make, just being on the fact that it's AJ Green. And, you know, at one point in time, he knew how to be a top 5 receiver in this league. So now he's working with a young quarterback who's kind of new style, fast, can throw the ball far. Should be a fun time.
Yeah, it was tough for me because it's like that means, you know, I've got 3 Arizona Cardinals on my team now with Hopkins, Green, and Edmonds. So bye week is going to be kind of tough, but you know, I'm okay with it. And of course, Darren only wanted me not to pick Sammy Watkins, so he could pick him with his last pick. He's such a homer. I'm not mad at Zach Wilson. There we go. Matt takes Zach Wilson. Well, that does it for us, man. The draft is over, man. What are your thoughts? 4th annual inside the Hashes fantasy draft has come to an end. What are your thoughts, man, looking at this draft board?
I think it was one draft, and at the end of the day, if you're looking for a mock draft or something to just kind of see where you would be in your pick status, like this is something to look at because quarterbacks didn't go till late. No one was reaching on Mahomes. No one was reaching on Lamar.
Yeah, I think
this draft board is pretty I mean, I expected everyone kind of go where they were. I mean, I think some of the quarterbacks ended up going a little bit earlier than I thought, like Rodgers and Brady and Tannehill. But like once there was a run in that round before of Murray, Jackson, Wilson, like everyone just kind of panics. So like that's going to happen, obviously. But yeah, I think, it was interesting to see all those running backs come off the board at first.
All right. Well, other than yourself, looking at this draft board, I mean, who do you think has honestly, if everybody stays healthy and the trades happen, who do you think has the best chance of bringing home the chip in season 4?
I just have a feeling that Chris Thomas picked a team that might just do it. I mean, when you're looking at this team, I mean, there are a lot of guys that are going to be like, we're going to need to see what the middle of the season looks like before like we know if his team's going to be really good. But the potential on his team, like Montgomery and then the Beckham, the Thomas pick, I mean, it's a really impressive team, I think, that like Ridley. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see. But I think right now, like he is the most talent on his team. So I'm gonna go Chris. I mean, I was really impressed how he was able to get Thomas and still a group of wide receivers to kind of combine when he gets back. So like that's a loaded roster right now.
It's very, very solid. Very, very solid. I agree. I think Chris has probably one of the better overall rosters here. Very, very solid. Another underrated one is Lewis. I think Lewis has a pretty solid team there. Still, I kind of question the Austin Eckler pick, but to follow it up with Joe Mixon, as long as both guys can stay healthy, they're going to put up points. Terry McLaurin, Robert Woods, again, guys that you're going to get points. And Adam Thielen, just a very consistent receiver as well. Mike Davis, the running back, that was a steal in my opinion. I think he's going to have a really good game this year. The Falcons themselves have a good record or not, so I think Lewis has a really good chance as well. But like I said, I want to agree with you, man. I think that Chris drafted really, really well. Chris drafted really, really,
also
really
give
well.
a shout out to Luka too. I think. I mean, like his draft too. Like the first 7-8 rounds, he did a great job. And if Jalen Hurts comes together and he starts throwing the football, like just because they're a lot down in a crap ton of games and he's throwing for 350 yards, yeah, like that's a team that's going to work. I mean, Diggs, Evans, Robinson, Gaskin, Taylor, Claypool, Sutton, loaded team.
Yes, very good team. And then to follow it up, round it out with the Colts defense, that's a solid squad there, man. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see, but that is to do it for us, man. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, the 4th annual Inside the Hashes fantasy draft is over. We are done. You guys let us know in the chat whether you're watching now or you're watching later. Send us a DM, a comment, whatever. Let us know who you think has the best team and the best chance of bringing home the chip this year. And let us know what you guys feel. Whoever comes in last place, I feel like we should make them do something embarrassing. You guys give us some suggestions. Whoever's in dead last place, that person's going to do something embarrassing. You guys let us know in the comments, in the chat. Let us know what you think that should be. But I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. We've been here long enough. Sam, it's always a pleasure to jump on with you. Any final thoughts before we close this out?
No, it was a good draft. Like very similar thoughts to you. I think, it'll be exciting to see. And I definitely want a punishment for the absolute last place finisher. So that was a phenomenal idea of yours. So, keep up with this league. I think it's going to be a very competitive season.
Yes, for sure. Listen, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Share the stream. Please make sure you don't forget to check out all of our social media handles. Inside the Hashes on Instagram and Facebook, Inside Hashes on Twitter. Don't forget to check out the website, www.insidethehashes.com, where you can find all of the content, player interviews, podcasts, blogs. Check out the YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe. We have everything that you want, gaming, all of those different things, and you'll be able to see the recap of this as well on all of those different platforms. For everybody here at Inside the Hashes, that's Sam Kirk. My name is Avery Collins. Thank you for joining Inside the Hashes Fantasy Football Draft Year 4. Over and out.
Peace out.